Sweet goodness, it's Friday, 8/11. George Brauchler on the George Show, 710 KNUS. We've made it. We've made it to the end of the week. Just one more day of work, if that's what you're doing. If you're somewhere on the street somewhere listening to us on an old transistor radio, thank you. Thank you for listening in. And my guess is you have yet to meet Mayor Michael Johnston, but you will very, very soon. Listen, the weather today, lightning bolts everywhere through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which is too bad. Few PM storms today, but 92 degrees. This is from our friends at Denver 7 Weather. Saturday, 90 degrees. Sunday, 85 degrees, storms likely. That's problematic because Big Daddy here wanted to do a 10-mile run. As you know, I did an 8-mile one on Sunday. I'm just sharing with you the misery that is trying to get in shape for a marathon, which I've done exactly 0 times. Good grief. 10 miles seems really long. And at my pace, I've got to set aside a good chunk of Sunday. I just got to carve it out.
I think Mother Nature is telling you not to run.
She's saying so many things.
Bad decision.
Mother Nature, my knees, my will, all of those things are conspiring to say, you don't need to do this. You're just voluntarily doing this.
Yeah, that knee thing is not fun at all.
No.
That's ridiculous.
No, it'll take me a couple days to recover. Yeah. It's making me think more and more about our buddies at QC Kinetics, but I don't think I have injury there. I just think I have old man knees, which, by the way, I feel pretty blessed. My dad, by this age, I think had each knee scoped at least once. So I feel like I've beaten the system, which is good. But I got that to look forward to for Sunday. It means I'll probably sleep worse on Saturday night than I did any other night this week, which sucks. Jeffy is coming back tomorrow at like midnight-ish, Saturday night midnight-ish.
Wow.
So Trey and I were going to go up to Fort Collins tomorrow and lay the groundwork for him moving in next week.
Yeah, next week's moving.
Mom and Amanda are going to go up there and do the moving in thing. I wish I could do it. You know, I flew out to DC and did it with Amanda and Mom, you know, over 2 years ago now. Wow. But I really wish I could go do it. I can't figure out how to juggle it all. There's too much. Kids apparently still have to go to school and they can't drive yet. Yeah. They can't walk. It's too far apparently. Yeah. And the bus system, I haven't figured out yet, even if we have one. But Jeff comes back and then there's going to be a little bit of pain there before he gets his driver's license on August 30th, because once he's able to drive, you know, then the boys, that's it. I mean, you took for granted having Amanda and Trey. So that little bit of period of time there.
It's that freedom. It's that opening of everything. Yeah. And then, it's
an extra set of wheels matters.
Oh, yeah. But again,
I'm talking to a guy with 18 cars in his front yard. Yeah. I mean,
oh, God. And we've got 5 and we're looking at, we're going to have to get 6 in the next year.
Come on. The snakes can't drive, Billy.
No, they can't. But Gwen is going to be old enough. And so she's going to have to start learning. And, because she's 14, turning 15 here in a few months. So we are within a year of her having to drive. So the only advantage is there is going to be something where, we've talked about this a little bit, but our oldest one, Max, is changing jobs. And so he's going to work at Gwen's school.
Oh, how wonderful.
He's going to be an administrative assistant at her high school.
Old big brother.
Which is great. So technically, he can still drive her. So I've got a little more wiggle room.
That's great.
Yeah. So I have got a little more wiggle room as far as the timing in which we have to purchase another vehicle. But she's very independent. So I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of questions and stuff. And that's when Katie started driving. At first, she was like, "Oh, I don't want to. I didn't like driving," and she was scared of it. And now,
I don't understand that, Billy. That is a generational thing. I do not understand it. I couldn't wait to get my license.
Me either.
I know dudes and dudettes, friends of my kids and stuff, some of whom are 17, going on 18, don't have a driver's license. And my instant thought is, what's wrong with you? And I don't know if it's because they've been able to fall into that crack where everybody around them has it, so it doesn't matter, or if moms and dads these days have been far more free and willing to drive their kids around. I got that brand new hybrid RAV4 because I love trees. I bought that thing in October of 21.
Yeah.
And I'm taking it in for a 45,000 mile checkup here.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, that's happening.
Good job. Jeez. That is a lot of miles.
It's a lot of miles, but there's reasons for it, and none of them are good.
No. So if you own an auto dealership or anything that has to do with cars, contact our sales department, because George spends a lot of time in the cars.
Oh my goodness,
he would be an excellent person to advertise whatever it is that you have that goes on with the car. Now, my oldest, he has, as we talked about, some developmental issues because of a brain injury. So he didn't drive for quite a while because his executive planning is not really there. So then what that means is when you leave your house, you can imagine the pathway you need to drive or navigate in order to get to work or school. He can't. He can't imagine that far in the future. He can't do that kind of planning. It is a decision-making based on repetition and recognition. So that was more difficult for him. Our other son, it took him a while until he wanted to drive. I think he didn't get his until almost 18. But again, it was a lot of that where his friends were driving, and a lot of his friends were driving around, and I was my friend's taxi as well. So, yeah. So one of my buddies, he didn't get his license until almost 18 because I would take him everywhere. So yeah, that was kind of one of those things, but it was unusual. Also, his family they weren't able to afford to get him a car at that point because they also were paying for older brother's college and some other things. So, but yeah, I'm kind of looking at that car, and I don't understand why you didn't want that freedom. However, there is a nice drawback to the freedom of the teenagers because if you sign up for those like State Farm has Drive Safe and Save. Yeah, that comes with a GPS device.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah, so I can check onto where my daughter's car is at any point in time.
Oh boy,
that is wonderful. I would have gotten in so much trouble if that was available when I was a kid.
Years ago, when Amanda first started driving, maybe it was right after that, we found this, and by we I mean Mom found this app called Life 360.
Yes.
It is a leash of some kind. I don't know, or it's like a cowbell or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? No matter where they are. And you can see all that stuff. You can see their driving history, where they were, crash detection, all that stuff. It's good. I like seeing it.
Yeah.
I don't like seeing my own reports on it where I'm like, what was I doing? I felt like that was complete. Like, why would you say I had, 7 unexplained accelerations, whatever that is?
Exactly.
What's that from? Like, nobody should know that information.
No, not at all. Why are you including that one? Yeah. A couple of my kids, they have Life 360 with their friend group, which is really kind of cool because they always can check in to see where their friends are and what they're doing. In fact, Spencer went out the other night and was playing a game with his friends called Hostage.
No.
This is what they did. It was kind of funny. What they did was you had a kidnapper, you had a kidnapper car, and then you had the finder car, and they were divided up into teams, and there were several groups of them. And what you would do is you get divided up in teams, and you would take, it was 2 people in each car. The one person from the finder car would get taken into the hostage car. You drive them around somewhere, and they put kind of a geographic limit on it. And then you would drop the person off.
Yeah. We did that.
Yeah, you drop them off, and then the other person has a challenge to find them, and you're working in teams.
Without a phone?
Yeah, and it's whoever finds them first.
This is 1979.
Yeah, so then it's whoever it's whoever finds them first. So
and then they get to sacrifice them.
Yeah,
something like that.
Something like that. I think
so. They don't want to be found.
Yeah, it was either that or they got Chick-fil-A. I don't remember which, but there were rappers in the car.
I love me some Chick-fil-A. By the way, we would be remiss if we didn't mention that the horrific fires in Maui. Good God, the numbers keep going up, and they think it'll be worse. 55 right now is what's being reported on Fox News. 55 deceased. No clue as to how many injured. That emergency medical system has to be overwhelmed at this point. But I think I read, and I'm trying to scroll through here right now, that the fire is contained, but that doesn't mean it's out. Did you see something like that?
I didn't see that one. But again, technically, it's an island. So eventually it's going to be contained.
It will.
I mean, I'm sorry that's dark, but
I don't know if it can leap over to another island.
No, I don't think so. So I touched base with 2 friends of mine yesterday. One that has family that's on Oahu, another one that lives on Oahu.
Oh, really?
But he was like, it doesn't really impact us. And he goes, yeah, it's dangerous. It's scary. But it is almost like, going where you're like in Colorado if there were fires in Montana. He goes, yeah, it's there. We see the impact around us and some of the people coming over and stuff. But yeah, he goes, the air quality and things, but he goes, it's not as dangerous as, if we were on the island.
Says it's the deadliest U.S. wildfire since a 2018 camp fire in California, which killed at least, I don't know how they can say at least, there must be some they haven't accounted for, 85 people.
Jeez.
Craziness. I mean, the stories of some of these people jumping into the ocean. And then there's an article that comes out that says jumping into the ocean should be your last resort. I'm like, I am pretty certain that the people that are making that decision are not sitting there thinking, well, what's behind door number one? I don't
Yeah.
know. Should maybe we could run down this path and hope that nothing. I mean, if you're jumping into the ocean to avoid flames, I feel like that's the definition of last resort.
It's like that. What was it? Wasn't it an auto insurance commercial where it's like, if you're in a horror film and they're like, let's go hide in the shed with the chainsaws. What about the car that's running over there? No, chainsaws. That's what it seems like. It's like you're in the group and you're like, we could get in the car, we could drive away from the flames, or no, jump in the water. Let's go jump in the water.
I just love, though, that these are, all the tragedy pieces of this story. And there are so many, most that we don't even know about yet. And then some dude gets stuck with, why don't you write a story on whether jumping into the ocean is smart, or like, when is it best to jump in the ocean to avoid a fire? Like, and that guy's like, come on, can't I go interview someone about their lost puppy or something?
Yeah.
Nope.
It's like when they caught the serial killer in New Jersey. I saw the story within like 5 or 6 days in the New York Post, and I had to talk about it on the other radio show because it was a list of how to tell if your neighbor is a serial killer. Like,
there's a list. There's a checkoff list.
Yes, there's a checkoff list, which is great because the first one was if they have a messy and cluttered house. I'm like, I'm scared because
which are supposed to be awesome, but every single scout fled from that typhoon targeted area where they were having the Jambo.
Yeah.
And they've all dispersed, but they're all going to reconvene in some giant stadium for this thing. And I guess he's there. And so we were texting and I said, hey, are you going back to the gym on Camp Humphreys? And I said, why don't you take a picture, by the way? And he goes, I can't. They said if we take any pictures, we could be kicked off of the base. I'm like, see, my son's such a good rule follower, but I'd be like, what are the odds they're kicking a 15-year-old scout off the base in South Korea? Probably zero.
Where
I don't see that.
Send me?
I don't think that's happening.
What's the worst?
That's not gonna happen.
Either I go home or I go to hotel.
Right.
What's the worst thing that's going to happen here?
But nonetheless, I don't want to discourage him from being a rule follower. And so at this point, and so he says, hey, I can't do it. And I read the text to be, we're not going back to the gym. We're going to a hotel. I text him back, so excited, a couple excited emojis. And I'm like, hey, that's so much better than going to the gym. And he's like, no, ... hostel, not hotel. We're going to a hostel. And I'm like,
no.
Oh, well, that's way different.
Yeah, that's way different.
There's no Motel 6 hostel even.
No,
you know what I mean? Like,
that's a whole different level.
Nobody has a commercial where they rocked it the next day and they go, last night I did stay in a hostel.
Yeah, exactly.
There's not that commercial doesn't exist.
Yeah, the only ones that do exist are those things online that's like, you have this fungus. We have a cream to remove this type of a rash. That's all it is. Because that's
that you picked up at the hostel.
Exactly.
And I've noticed too that, and I get these guys are herding sheep and they're teenage boys, so I can't tell you I'd make incredibly different decisions, but the amount of wasted time that they spend mounting a bus or waiting on the bus or driving to some place. Tomorrow, it's like an hour and a half or something drive to Incheon, which is where the airport is outside of Seoul. And they're leaving like, I can't tell you how many hours in advance. When they left here to fly out there, the flight was at 6 something. They had them show up at the airport at 3.
Oh, geez.
And it's like, I understand accountability, but at some point, I mean, please.
Yeah, 3.
I guess we're all going to be happy if they return with everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
If they would have saved 6 hours here, 7 hours there, but come back and said, we're only down 1. You know what I mean? Then maybe you spend the extra time. But so I've been trying to cajole Jeff into calling. He said, hey, maybe later tonight. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Alexa. Jeff is not 13 hours ahead, 15. That's 12 plus 3. That tells you my public school math right there. This is exactly why you need better math teachers. So he may call in, I don't know, just to share what's going on. I said, dude, this is it. If it's not today, by Monday, you'll be back here in beautiful, safe Colorado in a bed of your own choosing.
Yeah.
Not some hostel where question mark who was here before.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Have these sheets been washed?
Have these sheets been washed? He has missed 3 days of school, but based on history, those 3 days of school are only second in lack of importance to the last 3 days of school.
Yeah. There's not a lot of hectic.
There's a lot of garbage built into the school schedule.
Yeah, there is. And because you got to ramp up the kids, you got to get them ready. Although one of the things, and I don't know if you went through this when we were at Mullen, one of the first few days of school is they ran us through how to take notes and how to study and how to read things that were like how to study, how to plan, how to take notes.
I was sick that day.
Oh God. The best one in the world was how to read a textbook. I love that class, and
Really?
I have taken each one of my kids.
That's a
through that
smart thing to
examiner.
do.
Oh, it is super smart because it is. And the best part about it was the teacher stood up there and held up the textbook and goes, "This is not a novel. There are no plot twists. There are no surprise characters.
Yeah.
Don't read it like a novel. This is how you do it." Threw it down on the desk and then ran us through.
That's great.
And it was fantastic. And I've done that with each one of my kids. I'm like, no. You don't start at the beginning of the chapter and read to the end of the chapter. There are ways you go through the chapter first. First thing you do is you read the first paragraph of the chapter, and then you go, and then you read the questions at the end of the chapter.
See, I needed that class.
Yeah. Then you read the last paragraph of the chapter. Then you go backwards through it and you read everything that is in bold and you read everything underneath the pictures. And then because now you visually know what the chapter looks like. And now you can pick and choose what are going to be the important points inside of that chapter. And you take notes on it.
Where was I think I missed that day. I don't remember that. That would have actually encouraged
wonderful.
me to read more because the task was so daunting. I read none of it. I was.
In fact, that note-taking class was so valuable, it earned me money later in life.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, a significant amount of money because I was so good at taking notes. Because again, it's just it was the basic outline system. I sold my notes in college and I would get beer money for it.
This is almost on the doorstep of taking people's tests for them.
Yeah.
Which I always wanted to do, but nobody wanted to see. No one wants to see. I thought about paying some people just for the experience. Like, I'll give you $5 to let me take your history test. Come on. I just want to see if I can pull it off.
There may have been a number of us that had this elaborate communication ability during history and geography tests, especially geography. There was a system. Yeah. There was a group of us. And we were scattered throughout the room, but there was a system that if some of us didn't know something in geography, etc., then we could help each other out. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. It was kind of nice.
I took a different approach. I can't tell you why, but the whole cheating thing really bothered me because I think it was because I was willing to take my C based on my effort and my performance, and to see someone else who had put in just as little commitment as I had getting a better grade by beating the system, I was offended. So this technique I've passed on to the kids. They love it. It makes them laugh. I said, whenever some dude, and it's usually a dude, it doesn't have to be usually a dude, is trying to look over at the paper and all that. I said, there's a couple things you can do. Yes, you can have the false answers and then end up changing them and making them. Yes, you could do it. I said, I appreciate instead just really loudly in the middle of the class, in the middle of the test, saying, please stop looking at my test. Just that loud. No matter what, they make a little pee-pee and everybody looks right over at you and then looks around you like, who's looking on his paper? I said, it'll never happen again. They'll never, ever, never look again. I've had that happen before. And the teacher's like, Mr. Brauchler. And I'm like, nothing. No, I'm good. But the dude never looked over ever again. Great. After class, of course, it was, why are you such an a-hole? I'm like, genetics? I don't know. I can't explain it. It's like a Tourette's. It just happens.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's good.
There were so many things I wanted to touch upon in this discussion time. Because but it's not, it's a topic and I don't want to just burn it all here, but you were talking about your son having to give notice and the end of jobs. And it got me thinking about how people quit on me when I was the DA. I mean, the method that they did. And now, of course, there's a, look, this is a pull the curtain back thing. Term limits for district attorneys has been bittersweet in that it's sweet in that I ran against the incumbent in 2008 and lost in the primary. But then when they were out of office, yay, I got to beat up on some other folks that ran and I got 2 terms and that's terrific. And then as you end your second term, you think term limits is stupid, but it's the voters' will and they get their way. But what it has done is created an environment where professionals, these aren't people that are fungible, in my opinion. You can't just go to the DA store and pick someone off a shelf, but they have gotten to the point where they're freaked out about their future. And most of these people are in a family building rage of ages, where they're like 25 when they graduate law school. Maybe they're not thinking about kids right away, but by the time they start freaking out, they're in their late 20s, early 30s, and they're looking ahead and they're saying, oh my God, I don't even know who the next DA is going to be. They could come in and lay waste to the office. And that's legit. So right now they're having a bunch of turnover in DA's offices all over the metro area because they're looking at the landscape saying, oh my God, a year from November, we're going to know who the DA is. I can't tell you now. So they'd rather go some other place where there's certainty. So how they quit and the timing of their quitting is real. And you and I were talking about the 2 weeks notice thing. And I'm like, that is so fake. I can't remember the last time somebody gave me 2 weeks notice that was a real 2 weeks notice.
Yeah, that was the thing, is that we've had some experiences with 2 of my kids. One that just up and quit and is like, nope, done today. And I'm just not wired that way.
I get why that happened, though. That wasn't hey, I'm looking for a career change. That was
this sucks.
We're going to keep dumping on you till you break. And they're like, you win.
Yeah, he's like, you win. We're not doing this one. And then it was interesting when my son walked in and talked to his supervisor and said, hey, I need to give 2 weeks notice. And the guy was kind of expecting it because obviously the new job called to ask about how good of an employee he was.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I gave you a good recommendation. He goes, I really appreciate what you've done here. And he's like, well, I'm giving you 2 weeks notice. And he looked at him. He goes, that's antiquated. He had an expletive in there as well, but he's like, no, he goes, you don't need to. He goes, we'll make it work. So whenever you need to leave, we'll make it work. But and I just thought that was very interesting. That is only the first time I've ever heard a supervisor say that is antiquated. And I understand it. When, the other kid just up and quit the job, I was like, and he goes, I know, Dad, I know. And he goes, but look at it from my perspective. And I'm like, you make a good argument. I understand, because part of it that he looks at is that your employer doesn't give you 2 weeks. Your employer can decide that you're done in any shape, way, or form. And
that's true. Yeah. The only people I've ever cut loose on the day is somebody who has stolen from us, and I don't mean money.
Yeah.
And there was one person who supervisor came to me and said, hey, she keeps punching out on the computer like 30 minutes after she's left. Like, she puts in the time, hey, I'm leaving at 4, but she's really leaving at 3:30. And
so
I'm
she's
like,
a salesperson.
And I'm like, how do we know that's true? I mean, other than you seeing it. She's like, oh my God, this is the great thing about coworkers. They will dime you out in a heartbeat if they think you're beating the system. And I said, we need more than that. And they're like, oh, you know what? We have security on all the doors. Let's go back and take a look. And we went back and found like 3 days of exits.
Oh.
And sure enough, man, I'm looking at the time clock and boop, boop, she is taken off. So she's stealing money from us through time is what it is. And for the taxpayers, I'm very protective of that. And so I remember having the chief investigator there, who's always there for the terminations. And I brought this person in and I said, hey, listen, it looks a lot like you are lying about when you're leaving here.
Yeah.
Do you have an explanation? She's like, I am absolutely not lying. I never did that. I don't know why you would think that. And I said, well, your coworkers. And she's like, I can't believe they would say that. I think there's jealousy, blah, blah, blah. And then I just let her go. And I said, and then there's the video of you leaving that match. And then it was, well, I'm sorry I did it. I won't ever do it again. And I'm like, no, we're all done here. So that person gets cut loose right away. Others, if we had to let someone go for a performance issue, or something like that, I usually tried to give some type of lead up, like, hey, listen, man, we're going to do something with your cases or whatnot. But when people quit, one, it pissed me off. They didn't quit to the guy that hired them. And that's me. I'm the guy that hires them. I want them to come into the office and say, I want to go. The other thing is, if they're unhappy, I want to hear about it before they leave. I can't tell you how many people left where I said, I need you to come to me before your heart is hard, right? Like, you need to come to me and say, this is what I'm struggling with. And I may look at you and say, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about it. Let's make your final days here peaceful. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Or you come to me and say, here's what I'm struggling with. And I say, I'll fix it. You know what I mean? Is it a couple bucks? Is it you need some to take a knee? You need to get out of that sex assault unit on kids? I can do that.
Yeah.
But people usually come to me when it's too, like, once you've committed to the greener pastures, there's no undoing that. There's no way to get out of it.
Yeah. I had one of those where I came to the general manager of the radio cluster that I was working with. And I said, listen, this position at this point is not working based on, the money that I am making at this point. I've been doing it for this long. There have been 0 pay increases. We've talked about pay increases. My manager has, and all of those have evaporated. We even had this plan to have this pay increase that doesn't directly come out of the budget. It comes from this pool over here. And when I provide value in this pool, then I can get this. And so it gives me an incentive. So that and this, and the general manager looks and just says, that is what the job pays. And we are not increasing the salary. I'm like, okay, what other opportunities are there? And she's like, and I went, oh, I see where this is going. So within 3 weeks, I was gone. But 3 weeks. Yeah, but in 3 weeks, I was gone. I didn't say, hey, I'm giving you my notice, etc. But I was gone within 3 weeks because I'd found a job within a week later because of what I was doing at the time. And the odd thing is they then had someone in my position. They replaced that. and the person flamed out very quickly, and then they eliminated the position, and the position doesn't exist anymore. And I'm like, well,
you set the bar too high.
Well, no, the idea is that it was a very particular skill set that you needed, and I replaced a guy that had the same particular skill set.
Weirdly, it involved callus-free hands.
Yes,
and I don't know why that would be in radio.
Yeah,
but
that and the ability to do very unusual yoga poses.
Oh, my sweet goodness!
There's a lot of stretching. I'm just telling you, at that time I was very flexible.
Alexa, our listener friend here, says our good buddy said that in corporate America, most people still give 2 weeks notice. Well, clearly the DA's office ain't corporate America, because I get this a lot. People either showing up at Friday at 5 saying, hey, I'm going to quit, and my last day is going to be Friday morning in 2 weeks. And I'm like, that is not 2 weeks. It's an attorney position, for God's sake. I got to post a listing. I got to get applicants. I got to interview those applicants. This isn't like someone that works the drive-through window. And even then, that probably can't be filled in 10 seconds either.
No, not at all.
And the worst are the people that show up on Monday and say, oh, yeah, I'm leaving in 2 weeks. My last day will be a week from Friday. I'm like, in what universe is that 2 weeks? You can't find me a calendar where that's 2 weeks. So my inclination is to get pissed off and say, we don't need you anymore. Get out right now. Most of the time I couldn't do that for the obvious logistical reasons that they were actually still performing a job. But there was one time, and I told you this off air, where someone showed up and said, hey, on a Monday, hey, I'm leaving in 2 weeks, a week from Friday. And oh, by the way, next week I'm taking off because I'm having some medical procedure done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, so I'm really getting 4 days notice to cover for you.
Yeah.
So they left. I told the number 2 guy in the office, I said, if we can do the job without her, let her know we're done tomorrow. She can pack up her stuff and leave. He comes back and says, she's in tears, dude. She's bawling. She doesn't have a secondary plan and all this. And I said, this is really bothersome to me, man, because this is garbage. I hired them. I brought them on. I didn't surprise fire them, but I get surprise resignation. Like, this isn't private sector. This is government work. But it just infuriates me, this whole thing.
I had a manager go ballistic, and this was not in front of me, but I heard this story afterwards, after I gave my 2 weeks. The person did the whole thing. Get him the F out of here now. Blah, blah, blah. And was yelling and screaming at people. And one of the people that was in the meeting that came to me afterwards and said, told me what went down. And said, yeah, he threw some stuff and was mad. And I pointed out to the manager, this gentleman that was telling me, who exactly are you going to get to do that job at this point?
That's right.
Because it was a
trunk
very
monkey.
Like
I have a
this
trunk
one.
monkey.
Yeah, exactly. Just like this one. It was very early, and it was dealing with a personality that could be at times erratic. So it was one of those things.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah. So it was one of those things that you were like, they were like, who in your right mind do you have on the staff that can come in at this point and take over that? Well, you're fine. Yeah, fine. And so he pouted, and although he wouldn't look at me for the next 2 weeks anytime I saw him in the hallways or anything else.
But you got the 2 weeks. That's what counts.
I got the 2 weeks. I did, but it was like we were in high school again, where you would avoid my gaze every time we walked down every time we walked down the
But in the men's room, it was all eye contact.
Oh yeah, it was. And a lot of hand touching. I'm telling you.
Wow, man! All of these stories take me down different paths.
Hey, sir, how many hernias are you checking for? I mean, it was,
Or that thing like, hey, man, did you get a haircut? Followed by, where are you looking? You know what
exactly.
I mean? Those kinds of awful exchanges where, there's just things you don't. It's weird to have a conversation where you're staring straight ahead because you're violating some unwritten man rule. Like, you can't go past 10 degrees left or right.
No,
like
you can't. But who in the right mind designs the little thingies between the urinal to only come up to the shoulders? Who is that jerk?
Because tall people, they're right down there asking about hygiene. And I'm like, dude, mind your own business.
Yeah.
You
know
he's like,
is it supposed to be that color? I'm like, hey, don't even.
Oh, God. This is going to spin right off the
it is.
rails,
we should probably step aside.
We
before
should
I get
probably
in trouble.
cut out of here for a whole bunch of reasons. Hey, listen, stick around. We're going to get to the Thorpe Report, and you choose the news. I don't know if we get the loser edition or not, because, we do. We get the loser edition. Stick around. George Brauchler on the George Show, 710 KNUS. George Brauchler back with you here, 710 KNUS. My God, have I set us up for failure this morning. Let's just turn it over to the big man right now with the Thorpe Report. William.
All righty, let's see what we can get through. All righty, today is going to be a heck of a lot like yesterday. Hot, you know how it goes. A little change for Saturday, Sunday. Cool weather. Could get some rain showers Sunday, Monday. Elsewhere, Aurora Police Department says they're investigating a shooting that happened yesterday morning. Sent a teenage boy to the hospital happened around 10 in the morning. 3600 block of South Emporia Way, area of apartments and townhouses just east of Kennedy Golf Course, northeast of the Cherry Creek Res. Victim, whom police spokesperson described as an older teenager, taken to the hospital, condition unknown. They do not have a suspect description and have not released any more information. The group behind a spree of armed burglaries in Cherry Hills Village is believed to be connected to crimes throughout the Front Range. That's according to the police chief, Jason Lyons, who we've reached out to but haven't heard back from yet.
Come on, Jason.
Yep, One person was injured. 8 units were displaced after an explosion at a fourplex in the Denver Washington Park neighborhood yesterday evening. Denver Fire Department crews were dispatched right around 6 o'clock to reports of an explosion in the 400 block of South Lincoln Street. 3 units from the fourplex were directly impacted. 1 person taken to the hospital with minor injuries, according to Captain J.D. Chisholm, public information officer. Let's see. And elsewhere, residents were in the time of the building. Everybody has been accounted for. 1 dog was rescued, but another dog was found deceased. Suspected sexual predator accused of targeting women in Jefferson County parks told investigators following his arrest that he felt compelled to perform sexual acts in front of women.
Oh, God. Yeah,
come on, dude. Must be a TikTok thing. Glenn Thompson Braden, the 4th, 20 years old, lives in Evergreen, was arrested on Tuesday following multiple instances where he allegedly targeted female hikers. And, you know how it goes.
Come on.
Hi. Do you notice? Yes. I have hair under my long nose. Yeah, that's basically what it is.
I have hair under my long nose.
Yeah, pretty much what was going on. Now, man was arrested on Monday after he allegedly, impersonated a search and rescue official and then assaulted women in unincorporated Boulder County. Incident happened in July on the 25th in the area of Caribou Road and Forest Service Road 505 in unincorporated Boulder County. Also, Denver health officials are urging you to take precautions as they investigate at least 6 suspected cases of West Nile virus. Yeah, so make sure you smack those mosquitoes very, very hard. And finally, Tuesday's tornado in Yuma County was just one of a busy, severe weather season. Based on preliminary data from the National Weather Service, Colorado's seen more tornadoes and general severe weather reports this year than any year since 2000, and likely longer than that. Storm Prediction Center's tally of storm reports so far this year, 76 tornadoes across Colorado through Tuesday. And that's all I got.
Buddy, that's fantastic. Listen, let's cut away for a break. I want to give you as much time as possible to do the loser edition of You Choose the News. We don't even pay the bills anymore because we never get the sponsor on. It's George Brauchler on The George Show, 710 KNUS.
Why should you buy your next vehicle at Castle Rock Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram? We make car shopping easy. We have a huge inventory of new and pre-owned vehicles. We can even custom order. We make it easy. Easy financing, friendly staff. And when it comes to quality service, our expert technicians keep your vehicle in top shape. Visit us today off of Highway 25 and Plum Creek, or shop online at castlerockcdjr.com. Castle Rock, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Car shopping made easy. Why should you...
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Imagine the lifelong impact of a journey to the Holy Land, surrounded by like-minded travelers. Picture yourself stepping foot in iconic locations right out of history. With nationally syndicated radio hosts Dennis Prager and Mike Gallagher, you'll gain first-hand understanding of the spiritual and political importance of this vital region.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher here. I hope you'll join Dennis Prager and me on an amazing journey through Israel in October 2023.
Discover Israel's vibrant culture and why this nation is such a strategic partner for the United States. Join Dennis Prager and Mike Gallagher on this life-enriching Israel tour, October 25th through November 3rd, 2023. For more information, call 855-565-5519 or visit standwithisraeltour.com.
You made it. Let's just get it started. It's the Thorpe Report with William. I mean, you choose the news. God bless him.
Yes, I was wondering if we were going to get the name of the show right. Yes, sir, you are right. It is time for You Choose the News, everybody's favorite fake radio news game show, but some of us forget the name. Yes, that happened today, but we have scoured the interwebs earlier this week, and these are the losers, the ones that George did not like earlier, so we're giving them a second chance, another shot at glory. Alrighty, sir, here are your headlines. Headline number 1, surprise science lesson. Headline number 2, every man's best friend. Headline number 3, a delicious passing, fatal fromage, and we have one newbie this round because you were not here. Was it Tuesday or Wednesday?
That's true.
Yeah,
one of those days.
So that new
Wednesday.
one is new technology, same problems. So again, your headlines again are surprise science lesson, every man's best friend, a delicious passing or fatal fromage, and new technology, same problems. Your choice.
New technology, same problems.
New technology, same problems. We are traveling over to merry old England for this one, specifically Cotswold Airport. At the airport, they are testing those amazing new things, experimental aircrafts, those air taxis that they are all making such a big deal about that are make our life absolutely wonderful because now we will be sitting in long lines above the ground rather than in long lines on the ground in our vehicles. Well, while they were testing Bristol's vertical airspace, this new VX4 vehicle crashed.
Huh?
Yeah, the taxi service. They
With
were testing
people in it? Is everybody
no,
okay? Or?
No, it was actually unmanned at the time. And when reached
That's
for comment, the company said, well, this was an important test because this is a good step to see whether or not we can start putting people inside. You think? You think? I'm super glad you decided to do that first to see if the thing crashes by itself before deciding to add the peoples. So, yeah. So, again, I don't understand why people think this is going to make things so much better.
I just want to fly in a drone. I want my own drone.
Well, that can be arranged, but we need a harness.
I'm happy to do that.
Okay. Alrighty. Next choice. Surprise science lesson, every man's best friend, or delicious passing?
Delicious passing?
A delicious passing or fatal fromage. Here we're meeting Giacomo Chaparini. He's 74, and he works in a cheese house. And he has been working there for decades. And, well, as we talked about quitting, well, he's not working there anymore.
Uh-oh.
Not because he quit, but because recently, while he was moving around Parmesan-style cheese wheels, a shelf collapsed and buried him in cheese, killing him.
What?
Yes,
No,
he
that's
died
not
because of
funny.
cheese. Yes, it took 12 hours to find his body. Now, you'd say, how could you be crushed by cheese? Well, each one of those Parmesan cheese wheels, 84 pounds.
Holy smokes.
Yes, and dozens of them collapsed on top of him.
I guess that's the question. If you're going to be killed by cheese, what cheese would it be? Is it Parmesan? Not for me.
See, for me, I would love to go with the brie because it's softer.
I like the brie.
I could swim through it. I think I've got a chance there. I could,
Did nobody want to cut it to get to him?
Nicely done. Here, pull my finger. Okay, now your final choice this morning. A surprise science lesson or every man's best friend?
Surprise science lesson.
Yes, surprise science lesson. Here we're going to Oklahoma for this one, and we are meeting 4 lucky girls who got a science lesson. They were out in a very popular swimming hole, and this is in Mays County. It was around 10:45 in the morning. They were having a lot of fun frolicking in the water. It is called Blue Hole Park on Saline Creek. It is picturesque, and they loved it. But yet, that is when the weather turned a little bit sour.
Uh-oh.
Unfortunately, the girls didn't understand how well water conducts electricity. So when Blue Hole Park was struck by lightning, they all went, and had to go to the hospital. Yes, they all survived, but I bet they're all going to understand electricity and conductivity now, won't we, girls?
Is that why they tell you don't flee into the water when you're... Oh,
that
my
could be.
goodness.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe the idea that, hey, there's lightning. Let's stay in the water.
Quick, grab that metal pole as well.
Yes,
Pull yourselves out.
Yes, let's all grab the pole together. That is it. That is the end of You Choose the News. As always, George is our perennial winner, and I am just a giant loser. Today, though, we have a chance for you to make some extra money. Have you heard about non-fungible tokens, NFTs? Latest craze on the internet. We have Dr. Doofenshmirtz's Idiot's Guide to Investing in NFTs. On page number 1, it says, you're an idiot for investing in NFTs. Page 2, see page 1. Yes, it's a pamphlet, but you can get it for nearly free. If you mention the show, they'll charge you an extra $5. All righty. Find out if you are an idiot for investing in NFTs. Dr. Doofenshmirtz's guide will explain everything to you. All righty, sir. Back to you.
I don't know how we made it. Somebody
either.
texted in, by the way, where's the loser edition music?
We changed computer programs and what runs the station, the little screeny things over here to my left, and somehow the machine ate it. So I'm going to have to go back and recreate it. So,
folks, I'm going to do something. We just don't do this here. I'm going to let you weigh in on something. I am debating in my mind between a conversation about a potential presidential switcheroo between Biden and someone named Michelle Obama. I am contemplating that. There's a poll out of Iowa about Nazis in America, and then also HR horror stories. You text in your messages right here. Let me know what you want. George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. George Brauchler back with you here, 7 a.m. on the Friday show. You are mere hours away from wrapping up the best part of your day and then heading into your weekend. Listen, we made some offerings here at the end of the 6 o'clock hour as we jammed in the You Choose the News. Some good suggestions, by the way, on texts here. I could go so many different directions because I'm prepared to talk to you about the things that are in the news, whether they take the form of this. And listen, I've heard this a million times. It just seems like it's growing in its cacophony. And that is this idea that Michelle Obama may end up becoming the presidential nominee for the Dems because people are eyeing Joe Biden as someone who's circling the drain, maybe not just of politics, but of life. I mean, it seems very insensitive. It doesn't seem to be very respectful, but it also seems like it is a growing thing. Now, I've heard this on other talking head stations. I've heard it on ours with the smart folks that are at the top of their game out here. I've heard all that stuff, but I've never bought it. But I don't know, man. I can't understand why you'd want to be president if you were Donald Trump, other than the ego thing. I can't understand why you'd want to be president if you were Michelle Obama. You guys are swimming around in jillions of dollars, which makes no sense since your claim to fame is your husband's service to his country. But I get it. And then I just can't see why you'd throw your hat in the ring for this. But then there's some competing other issues here. There's a poll that was done, I don't know if you know this, by a group called JL Partners. And I'm chasing down some of the crosstabs. And folks, the crosstabs are how the numbers broke out based on the specific wording of the question. Like, you can read a lot of articles on polls, but you never get the straight scoop unless you get the actual raw questions and data asked. And to find out who participated in this and all that other stuff. That says something crazy in terms of over 50% of Iowa Republicans who are polled think that our country, the United States, is like Nazi Germany. It's just hard to imagine. It was 57% of likely Republican caucus goers said that. Now we're chasing down the crosstabs on this. We're going to chase down all that information. But oh my goodness, they said that they felt like the recent indictments of Donald Trump were similar to the conduct of the Nazis. What is going on here? I mean, I don't see it. I have grave concerns about what we're doing with the Department of Justice at the upper levels. I don't see it. Then the other thing that has really sort of caught fire here unintentionally after the first segment of the 6 o'clock hour was the human resources nightmares that have taken place. Now, we have some people here that are texting in, and you can text us at 710-KNUS and 710KNUS.com. Of course, you can also hit us on the Rumble. I think that I had been so lazy and lax jumping in on the Rumble in the past that Rick allowed me to be the first one out of the gate this morning and say good morning. So Rick, thank you. But Rick has already texted in here on the Rumble, 20 plus year restaurant and bar manager with 100%, 200% annual turnover. 2-week notice was few and far between. That's why I'm retired now. Now listen, we'll get to those other topics. Those are gems. Those are all keepers. And I want to do that. And I want to talk about the HR nightmare stuff. And you can go ahead and start loading up the phones at 303-696-1971 with your worst HR nightmare. And I'll just prep the battlefield in this way. When you run for district attorney, you think you're going to do a whole bunch of great things. You want to have a positive impact on public safety and holding people accountable and big capital letter words like justice. And then what they don't tell you is the single worst, most soul-sucking aspect of the job, outside of dealing with murder victims' families, there's nothing that tops that, is HR. HR is as soul-sucking an experience as a manager or a leader of an organization as you can possibly imagine. And we can talk about those stories too. But I wanted to hit on something that Billy talked about in the Thorpe Report back in the second segment of the 6 o'clock hour, something out of Cherry Hills Village. Now we're trying to get the chief of police on here. His name is Jason Lyons. I think that's going to happen. His predecessor, Michelle Tovrea, a great fan of Michelle's. She's retired now. I've known Michelle for years. They have put out a story, and there's some chilling videos here that are taken from Ring cameras and ring light cameras of these spree of armed burglaries that are taking place in Cherry Hills Village. And by the way, it's like the old, who was it that said that? Which gangsters where they said, why are you robbing banks? And they said, that's where the money is. Same kind of thing. Why are you targeting Cherry Hills Village? It's the richest of the rich people that tend to live there. And so they've been going around checking doors of your home, not the garage, of your home. And if they're unlocked, they're coming in. Now, you may not remember this, but a few years ago, there was a Cherry Hills Village police officer who was called out on this. There was a roving gang of thugs from Denver, shocker, that came down to Cherry Hills Village to commit their crimes. And they broke into this house, and the mom, super smart, quickly called 911, left the phone line open, put it on a shelf away from where they were. These guys came in and at gunpoint moved the family around. The dad was still up working in the office. They took him. Great hero, Cherry Hills police officer, gets to the front door, and God, if I could remember that cat's name, and he survived, but he opens the door, finds these guys engaged in this armed robbery kidnapping, draws his piece. They shoot at him, hit him in the leg. Could have been life ending had he not received immediate treatment, but he gets off around, shoots a dude's fingertip off. That ended up being helpful and ended up proving up that case. I'm going to remember that cat's name, and I'm going to apologize to him because I should remember that. So Cherry Hills Village has been victimized by this before, and they'll tell you, at least Chief Tovreo would say, it's more of a concierge police service. It's a different kind of police than I imagine you get in Aurora and in Cherry Creek. But here's the question that keeps coming up is that what is a community to do when this happens? Now, I want to preface my next statements by telling you I am not providing you legal advice. I'm a licensed attorney in the state of Colorado. I can practice law in a whole bunch of places, including U.S. District Court. I can give legal advice, but this is not that. This is me just merely telling you about the law that exists, whether you live in Cherry Hills Village or anywhere else. There are a series of statutes that are captured. We're just going to do a quick tutorial here, and I'm going to count this as KNUS's public service announcement from the George Show for the month. 18-1-704. I want to make it clear how the numbers are spelled out. 18 is the title. That's always the first number. Title 18 is the substantive criminal code. 1, the next number, is the article. It's a subset. And the article in this particular case involves things like defenses to crimes and other things, and inchoate crimes, whether it's conspiracy or attempt, solicitation, stuff like that. 700 et sec. Et sec means, and all the other ones that follow after it. 704, 18-1, that's the section number. 18-1-704 is called use of physical force in defense of a person. Yeah, Corey Sack, thank you, Texter. It was Officer Sack who got shot, but he was heroic. He shot that dude's finger off, and we ended up catching him, prosecuting him, and now those dudes are in prison. But they were also caught on these same ring videos. Here's a quick aside, by the way. There are some people in that Cherry Hills Village who refused to provide access to their ring camera videos so that we could continue to put the case together. I don't understand you. I get it. Oh, it's mine and I don't want to be involved. And it's I get all that. You suck, right? You have a police officer that's serving you, gets shot. Very, very dangerous. Could have died. And your response is you don't get my video to go prove up the bad guys. Well, you suck. Let me just make that clear. I don't think of a good reason in that circumstance for you. I can't think of one that you would withhold that information. Nonetheless, most everybody provided theirs, and it was hugely helpful because we could map where these thugs went, these thugs from Denver. So here's that section, 18-1-704. I just want to read you the words so you get it. This is about being able to defend yourself with deadly force wherever you are. Doesn't matter where you are. It says a person is justified in using physical force upon another person in order to defend himself or a third person. And it doesn't have to be someone in your party. It could be a total stranger, right? From what you reasonably, that's the key word, believes to be the use or imminent use of unlawful physical force by that other person. And he may use that degree of force which he reasonably believes necessary for that purpose. Okay, that's the big overarching thing. You don't have to know who the victim of this is. They don't actually have to have been hurt already. You could see somebody running across a parking lot with a battle axe like they're going to chop someone. You don't have to wait for them to chop them up. You don't have to know the person that's going to get hit with the axe. You don't have to know the person with the axe. You get to act on those perceptions. If it's reasonable, you can take action to stop it from happening. Next section, deadly. physical force may be used only if a person reasonably believes a lesser degree of force is inadequate and you have reasonable grounds to believe or does believe that the other person is in imminent danger of being killed or receiving great bodily injury. And there's other stuff in here too. Or the other person is using or appears about to use physical force against an occupant of a dwelling or business establishment while committing or attempting to commit a burglary. Okay, that's your neighbor. This statute covers your neighbor coming to your rescue with a burglar, an armed burglar in your home. This guy thinks you're about to be seriously injured or killed. Your neighbor gets to take action. That is different from the Make My Day law. Okay? Here's the next section I want to talk to you about. Same numbers except for the end. 18-1-704.5. This is use of deadly physical force against an intruder. This is the Make My Day. First section, and you could never see the state legislature these days crafting language like this. Listen to it. The General Assembly hereby recognizes that the citizens of Colorado have a right to expect absolute safety within their homes. The current legislature would pass something like, if you absolutely have to, and the person isn't in a protected class or an unhoused person looking for a snack and a couch to crash on, you may. That's how they would phrase it. But no, this legislature, and this is still good law, you have a right to expect absolute safety within your home. So this one says that any occupant of a dwelling is justified in using any degree of physical force, including deadly physical force, against another person when that person has made, one, an unlawful entry into the dwelling, not a business, a dwelling. It's a place where you dwell, where you live. So if you're in Cherry Hills Village and you see some thugs, masked or otherwise armed, in your home when you didn't let them in and no one else let you in, box is checked right there. Unlawful entry into the dwelling. And when that occupant has a reasonable belief that such other person has committed a crime in the dwelling, in addition to the uninvited entry, or intends to commit a crime, and when that occupant reasonably believes that that other person might use any physical force, this is beautiful language, folks, no matter how slight, against any occupant. This is a very low bar for the homeowner or the renter. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be a property owner, the renter. Somebody is in your dwelling and you are reasonably afraid that they are going to use any amount of physical force against you. It is go time. So if you're in Cherry Hills Village, and I'm not giving you legal advice, that's why you hire attorneys, and you catch one of these Denver thugs breaking into your house, and by the way, they've been reported as armed, that bar for your reasonable response when everything that matters to you in your world is in that home, and I mean your kids, your spouse, your partner, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. The law here says we're on your side. You don't have to know whether they're going to commit a crime. You don't have to know whether they're going to hurt. So how can you get in someone's head? You get to take action. And in Colorado, lots of guns here, folks. And it doesn't have to be a gun, by the way. There's nothing that says you can't run someone through with a spear made on forged in fire that we talked about yesterday. There's nothing that says it has to be a gun. But if you're armed, know this, you are in your castle, and ain't no one can come in your castle under those circumstances and expect you to do anything other than to end them. And again, I'm not a firearms instructor. I've been through a billion things of firearm instruction, but I will tell you this, you do not shoot to wound. You do not shoot to wound. You shoot to end the threat. I just know me. By the way, you're never going to go through this analysis. If you're in bed at home and you think someone's broken into your house and you see burglars in there, you're not going to stop and turn on your phone light to determine whether they're armed. You're not going to say, are you guys just here for the TV? Because that's cool. I'll just stay upstairs. Nope. You get to take action. And my guess is you won't even think about it. If you have the means, how many people out there, by the way, have had some, their wife or a kid, or they hear some funny sound and they pop up in the middle of the night and they grab their handgun. I've done that. I've done that only to find that I have really poor stacking skills at some part of the kitchen and ended up not being a person. I'm just telling you, when you know you need to take action, you're not going through this analysis. I just want to put these things in your head so that you feel comfortable with it. Here's something else. Guys, get out you chase some dude out of your house. I don't know why you're running after them. Chase some dudes out of your house and they make it to the front lawn. They make it to the street. You can't be shooting them then. Can't do that. You're no longer in imminent fear of serious bodily injury of death for yourself or someone else. You are signing yourself up to meet the DA if you do that. I don't know what that case turns into, but you're signing yourself up. Here's the next section, 18-1-705, use of physical force in defense of premises. A person in possession or control of any building, not just a dwelling, is justified in using reasonable and appropriate physical force upon another person when it is reasonably necessary to prevent or terminate what he reasonably believes to be the commission or attempted commission of an unlawful trespass by the other person in that building or whatever. However, cannot use deadly force, only in defense of himself or another as described in that earlier section. So I don't want you to confuse the burglary of your dwelling by somebody who is coming in there versus you're at your business. You're working late at night at your business. You think someone's trespassing your business. The only time it's not the same doctrine, folks. There is no make my day for business. All that self-defense stuff still has to apply. You can use force to stop them from gaining entry. That's true. But deadly force only under those circumstances that I described to you. And then the final one, 18-1-706, use of physical force in defense of property. A person is justified in using reasonable and appropriate. That's not necessarily deadly. In fact, I don't think it's deadly. Reasonable and appropriate physical force when he reasonably believes it's necessary to prevent what he reasonably believes to be an attempt by the other person to commit theft, criminal mischief, destroying property, or criminal tampering involving property. But he may use deadly force only in defense of himself or another as described. So what that tells you is you don't just have to watch somebody steal your car. You don't have to watch somebody walk out of your garage with stuff and head out to the street. You can use some force, but only deadly force if you are in imminent fear of serious bodily injury of death to yourself or others. That is my public service announcement here. Here's some text coming in. Not saying you're wrong, but you know that the legislative members don't write their bills. It's the staff members of the Capitol. Completely irrelevant. If what we're going to say is the responsibility for this language rests with people, not the what are they there for? They just rubber stamp the language? I don't think so. Nobody's lobbying the leg staff who's drafting this other than the legislators. I'm responsible for my subordinates. That's right. That's true. Here's another one. Good morning, George. Why did you have Darren Weekly on your program? Why did you have Darren Weekly on your program? He used to be a Cherry Hills police officer. Maybe you're asking, why don't I have him on? I'm sure he can give you positive input to the public about how they can protect themselves. Yes, I'm sure he can. And I'm a big Darren fan, as you know, but I don't need Darren to read to me the self-defense statutes and defense of property statutes. I've just given you that. There's probably some other things that Darren would tell you, like, and I know it sounds obvious, but it happens all the time in Douglas County. Close your friggin' garage door when you go to bed. You are begging for crime if you leave it open. But this is also a message to the neighbors. Neighbors, I don't care if you know the person on your street who has their garage open or not. Do yourselves a favor. Go over there, knock on the door, step way back from the front door and let them know their garage is open. Or in some cases, I tell you, this has happened within the last 10 years. Left their garage open. No one's at the front door. I went and did that thing where you walk in, hit the door to close it, the little button by the garage door, and then step over the laser beam thing. I've done that too. You lessen crime on your block for some, you lessen crime on your block for all. That's just how it happens. So just look out for each other. And if you see stuff going on, by the way, on the street, like the slow rolling white panel van with the guy who's doesn't seem to fit the neighborhood, doesn't have any markings like he's out there doing work or whatnot, give them the eyeball. If you think on it too, man, maybe take out your phone, give them some reason to not want to come back unless they have real business there. There are just a lot of things that you can do. And then someone texted in, I agree with Iowans. That tells me we're going to have another topic here. Listen, we've got Alexa and Bert on the line. I don't want to cheat them out of any time. We're at 7:25. Let me do this. Let's cut away for a break. We'll come back. We'll start taking our calls. We'll get the other topic ginned up here, HR nightmare stories, as well as other things if you want to comment on this. But I just wanted to make sure that for those who are in Cherry Hills Village or in any community where something like a roving band of Denver thug burglars are coming into your house, you don't have to rely purely on hope and prayer. You have other options. George Brauchler, 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Imagine the lifelong impact of a journey to the Holy Land, surrounded by like-minded travelers. Picture yourself stepping foot in iconic locations right out of history. With nationally syndicated radio hosts Dennis Prager and Mike Gallagher, you'll gain firsthand understanding of the spiritual and political importance of this vital region.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher here. I hope you'll join Dennis Prager and me on an amazing journey through Israel in October 2023.
Discover Israel's vibrant culture and why this nation is such a strategic partner for the United States. Join Dennis Prager and Mike Gallagher on this life-enriching Israel tour, October 25th through November 3rd, 2023. For more information, call 855-565-5519 or visit standwithisraeltour.com.
hotel with Israel. I did stand with many Texans, not so much the state. Why aren't we part of it, though? George Brauchler back with you, 710 KNUS. Just asking Billy, why aren't we part of the Dennis Prager tour? I want to stand with Israelis, and is it Israelites or Israelis? Does anyone know?
The what?
Is it Israelis or Israelites that they're standing
Israelis.
with? Yeah, for sure. Then where were the Israelites? What's the difference?
Well, Israelites, those are the ones that have gone on the diet and are doing the low keto things.
Oh, the light Israel.
Yeah,
okay, I got it. Listen, George Brauchler here, 710 KNUS. We had a couple different things rocking here. One, we're going to go to the phones. Our phone line is open at 303-696-1971. I spent the last segment just as a PSA letting you know about your options when one of those Denver criminal thugs breaks into your home while you and your loved ones are there, steps that you can take. It appears like under the law. I'm not giving advice. I'm just reading you the law. You can decide what to do with that information on your own. But we were also talking about HR nightmare stories. We happen to have HR experts out there. I shared with you some of them. Happy to do it again. Billy shared with you his own, not from the standpoint of a manager, but from the standpoint of an employee. I've been both. And I'm happy to have this conversation right now with a good friend of the show, Alexa from Arvada, or at least that's what the call screen says. You're on 710 KNUS. Thanks for calling.
That good old cellular tower indicator. Yeah, Arvada. So, by the way, I do have one quick comment on your Nazi poll.
Yeah, which we can't find, Alexa. I've looked for it. Billy can't find it either. We found polling from this group, recent polling consistent with the article, cannot find where they ever asked that question, but go on.
The story this week about the FBI shooting a 75-year-old, 300-pound man who was disabled in a wheelchair, could not even walk without a cane in a pre-dawn raid, killing him. That's why people think that. Because he had threatened Biden online.
Was he armed?
They went in pre-dawn and busted in his door, and he kept telling them to give him a minute, and then they shot him. They had monitored him for 4 months before this.
When they bust in the door, I just don't know it the way you do. When they bust in the door, is he armed? And I'll say this, listen.
He was in bed.
Armed?
Is my understanding. I don't know if he was armed in bed.
I'm telling you that's that's a big deal for me, is the armed piece. And I've told this story a little bit. I'll just cut to the chase. There was a guy that was living in the apartment complex that my sister managed, and he had been stalking her, and there was some horrific stuff that took place. Cops show up, they get into his house. He also is in bed, and they say, and one of his hands is under a pillow. And they don't know it. And they're like, show us your hands, show us your hands, show us your hands. He won't. A fight ensues. They didn't shoot this guy, but a fight ensues. And sure enough, what's under the pillow? A gun is under the pillow. So these guys have no freaking idea what's going on. I'm anxious to see if that's in there. If he's not armed and his hands are visible, that's bothersome in a different way. And I get it. 75 years old, 300 pounds. Those guys can pull a trigger just like an 8-year-old can, you know?
Yeah, but here's my question on that is they've surveyed him, did surveillance on him for the last 4 months. Why didn't they get him on walking out of his car on the way?
Very fair question. That's a great question. I don't know. I don't know why they chose to go into some.
That's highly think, but
don't know. Although I'll say this: if they take him outside his home, they don't get to search the house without a search warrant. If they have a no-knock warrant to go in and get him on an arrest, once they're inside the house, they probably get a sweep of the home, and they get to seize anything they see that has obvious criminality without a search warrant. Maybe that's it. But if they had the ability to get a no-knock warrant, Alexa, they probably had enough to search his house. So I'm just scrambling here to try to come up with something.
Yeah, just a FYI, it's stuff like that. But so yeah, I have lots of HR horror stories. One in the last decade was I was actually looking into something else and had gotten credit card transactions. Actually, it was on an HR person. And I started going through them, and it was like, these aren't business transactions. I mean, what are you buying at Dress Barn that's business? King Supers, I get if I get if you're getting donuts for the morning or something, but it was like close to 200 and multiple ones. Come to find out, she was using her business credit card because she was having financial difficulties. And her VP knew this.
Knew that she was using the business card for personal expenses?
I was so ticked. So then, as I dug in, so she had agreed to pay these back. She went, she had booked a conference. It was like $3,000 or $4,000. And turns out that they didn't go to the conference, so she got a refund. She applied all that refund to her personal outstanding charges.
Oh, my goodness.
So legal got involved, and she got fired, and they had to bring this up during a meeting, and the board members went, they're like, so we are going after her on criminal charges, and they had not done that yet. So someone rushed to the Arapahoe County courthouse and filed the charges.
Oh, they did.
But yeah, they did.
Listen,
she did eventually pay it back.
You know this area pretty well, Alexa. Do you find that businesses, I think some businesses shy away from diming out their employees who commit acts of embezzlement or theft or whatever against them. It's different if they hurt another employee, but I think they shy away from it. Like, I think the amount of business theft that takes place by employees is way more than we think it is, because mostly I think they go to them and say, here's the deal. We're going to terminate you. You're going to agree to go. You're not going to pursue unemployment or whatever it is, right? Like, we just want you to go away, rather than call up the popo and have them come out and do their thing.
It really can depend on the circumstance. After I left that company, I knew that one of their other executives had basically, through fraudulent expense reporting, stole over $50,000. There was another admin who had ordered, who was ordering things from the office supply store. And I assume, I didn't know all the details, but I assume she was selling them on Craigslist or eBay or something, over $200,000. So
dang,
it does.
Did they get lit up? Did the police come and take care of them?
I believe they did. But it depends. Yes, in HR, the things that people do not know that go on, and the agreements made to keep things hush hush, are just
why?
staggering.
Why do they do that though?
To save face. I mean, in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, the amount of like affairs that had happened, that hush money was paid so people would go away, and more stunning,
that
they
part's
left the guy
unseemly,
there.
Alexa, but that's not criminal. I mean, I guess I'm looking at this from the former DA.
It just all depends on the amount of dollars, I think it boils down to in many cases.
Before I cut you loose, Alexa, most bizarre HR issue with which you've been confronted?
Most bizarre HR issue.
I'm always baffled, by the way, at how adults, professionals, licensed attorneys can act as if it's some sort of junior high Lord of the Flies type, situation. And my belief for the DA's office is this, and we have such great support staff, but it's that the folks that have the jobs that don't get them out of the building are the ones that are most likely to turn into some sort of really uncomfortable work relationship. The attorneys are capable of it too, but they and the investigators, they get to come and go, right? Like, they get to interact with other human beings. If you're trapped in your cubicle next to somebody you hate, that hatred takes over all the other things, it seems like.
Yes. Yeah, I would say two quick ones. One is just, and this was the Me Too type of movement, but, the infamous, well, he said my dress looked nice. It's like, okay, I mean, if he said, wow, that really looks nice, that's one thing. But if he's like, that's a nice dress today, Like, what?
Or that's a nice
So-
dress. I wonder what it would look like on the floor of my office. Like that extra piece, you go,
Yeah.
okay, dude, come on. Yeah,
That would be one. And then, as I texted you, the sad part is most HR, not me, but most HR is there to protect the company.
that's what Billy says.
They don't care about employees.
True.
We joke always about in corporate HR, they outsource everything and they hand you, here's the 1-800 number to call, and you're going to be in a queue and never get your answer. But I think the most shocking thing was we had found out, I worked where I was literally like the first person someone would encounter walking in the section of the building from the outside. And all of a sudden we had our security guard who looked like Barney Fife. I'm not kidding. I mean, he probably 80-year-old Barney Fife.
Citizens arrest.
And we were going, why is he here? Why is he here? Well, it turned out, because at that point that company, I wasn't in the HR department, but an employee had threatened to come and, come back and retaliate. And I'm like, you owe it to the employees for them to be able to make the decision to stay or not stay. If someone comes in, Barney Fife is not going to be stopping, and I'm going to be the one in the crossfire. So I just thought it was horrific. HR cared more about their reputation and keeping things on the down low than about than about employee safety.
Alexa, what people don't know is you are more heavily armed than the security in the building. So while I don't want you to be the tip of the spear for any of that, I'm just saying I think anyone listening to you talk over the years has probably come to the conclusion that I think she likes the Second Amendment.
Yeah. And the one thing, though, be sure to read your lease agreements, because there's many leases out there that do not allow you to carry.
Really?
Even if it's allowed in the city. Mm-hmm. Many of the buildings in, let's say, Greenwood, Rhinesmith Village. Yeah, Smillage. A lot of the.
This is great advice, Alexa. I'll say I've been asked this question before too, and that is, what do you do in those situations? And I said, look, you always follow the dictates of the property owner. I believe in that. That's a property rights thing. On the other hand, it's a forgiveness versus permission environment for me. You know what I mean? Like, no, if you're armed and you do the right thing and you save your life or someone else's, nobody's really going to ever quit. It's only if you do something stupid that they'll come back and be like, I can't believe you had a gun. Alexa, I got to cut you loose though. We've gone so long. Thank you for calling in.
Take care.
Yeah, I'll see you soon. Hey, let's get a cutaway for a break. Going to come back. Going to be joined by our smart friends at Alpine Planning. If it's Friday, it must be BG, Brian Gray. Stick around. George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. George Brauchler back with you here, 710 KNUS. It's that time of the show where we bring up somebody wicked smart on all things financial. His name is Brian Gray. Brian, mercifully, the 3 minutes I have all belong to you, my friend.
That's all I need is 3. How's that? Right now, taking a look at the indexes, George, we got the Dow. We're starting out in the red. It's down 52. NASDAQ's down 116 points, and the S&P's down 22. Basically, same story as the past couple of weeks. You know, we want to see where we're going to end up today on a Friday so we can try to carry something into the weekend and then start the week off, with a strong bang. We had inflation. It rose less than expected in July. It rose to 3.2%. That's the first time it has risen in 13 months, so you want to keep your eye on that. The big one that's got me scared right now are the interest rates with credit cards, car loans, and home loans. It is going to be ugly here in the fourth quarter if we can't somehow manage to get this under control. You know, the property market is just totally taken off, but the problem is, first-time home buyers, they don't have the money or they can't get the access to the money to be able to purchase the homes because the interest rates are so high. So we got to keep an eye on that. We're at pre-COVID levels with credit cards and car loan defaults. So there's a lot going on out there right now. Just make sure you're sitting down with your advisor. We talk about that every day, but sit down with your advisor, make changes to your portfolio. Don't let it stay stagnant, and then just try to finish off the year off strong.
Is it your best guess that given this information, and other than the scary thing that you brought up I hadn't really given thought to, it seems like most of the reporting has been, hey, this is looking pretty good. Like we're still on target for a soft landing. There's been this year over year change that's not so. Are we thinking no rate hike? Like I've even heard some people say, hey, is the Fed in a position to cut rates? I can't see that coming in the near term, but what do you think?
I don't see them cutting rates, but I can see them maybe putting a pause on it for a couple months. But they got to do something, George, with the auto loans and
what can you do? What's the thing you do?
You just got to find a way. You know, there's no exact answer on how you can do that. We've dug ourselves such a hole in lending out money that, now we got to try to figure out a way to get it back. And we got to get banks profitable again. It just the whole entire economy. If you take a look at it from 33,000 feet looking down, the economy is doing okay. People are shopping, but they just don't have that discretionary income at the end of the month. And that's what's hurting.
We were killing it as far as the reduction in individual debt during the COVID for obvious reasons, but it seems like we have reversed that in a big, bad way.
Absolutely.
Hey, Brian,
we see it all the time.
Brian, great advice as always. Alpine Planning Group, it's a comprehensive financial planning firm committed to improving your long-term financial success. Investing, it is a matter of trust, and you can hear it in their voice. They're prepared to earn yours. Call them today, 303-843-0918, 303-843-0918. Have a great weekend, Brian.
Hey, you too, George. See ya.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Woodbury Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC and registered investment advisor. Alpine Planning Group and Woodbury Financial Services, Inc. are not affiliated entities. 14 West Dry Creek Circle, Littleton, Colorado, 80120.
Hey, George Brauchler with you here. A few seconds left. Stick around. Bert and everyone else, we'll get to you. 710 KNUS.
Why should you buy your next vehicle at Castle Rock Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram? We make car shopping easy. We have a huge inventory of new and pre-owned vehicles. We can even custom order. We make it easy. Easy financing, friendly staff. And when it comes to quality service, our expert technicians keep your vehicle in top shape. Visit us today off of Highway 25 and Plum Creek, or shop online at castlerockcdjr.com. Castle Rock Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Car shopping made easy.
Well, we're halfway through the last show of the week. You get the weekend off, and then, of course, Billy and I will be right back here 6 to 10 a.m. on Monday. It's George Brauchler with The George Show on 710 KNUS. Hey, you know, Dennis Prager's on right after Chuck Kirk takes over from 10 to 11. Dennis is on from 11 to 1. He's going to be in town, and you get the opportunity to be in a very, very intimate environment with him where he gets to share one of his great passions with you, and that is cigar smoke, generated by the cigars that he loves. We have the 3rd annual Dennis Prager event. It's called a smoke-a-thon or something like that, cigar night. It's going to be at the View House in Centennial. Super easy to get. It's where we did it last year as well. I think all the hosts are going to be there, at least the good-looking ones, and that means that I'll be – no, I'm kidding. I do play, apparently, this is what's been threatened, a larger role than I played last year. I was happy to just get in there, rub a little bit of elbows with Dennis Prager, watch him take pictures with people that came and all that. And I grabbed a cigar. I think I still have it somewhere. I don't know if it keeps like a wine or something, but it's somewhere. I just didn't smoke it. But I hung out there, and if you get the ticket at 710knus.com, easy to get to. There's a banner there. Just click on it and do the little thing, and you and I will get to see each other on August 30th. And it comes with like a premium cigar and a drink and hors d'oeuvres and a carving station. And I think the carving is either wood or soap. And I can't remember which, but you get whatever it is they're carving. So that'll be fun. And then you get to hang around. And other than listening to me run my mouth a little bit, introducing people, you really get the star of the show, Dennis Prager. He's here. You won't have to listen to him on the radio or a podcast. He will be here in person. Whatever questions you've always wanted to ask Dennis, now's your opportunity to do it. Make sure that you do something like that. Speaking of Dennis Prager, and he covers all these big national issues, and we try to do some national and some local. Let me tell you what has happened here. We came across this story. Billy did first, of course. And this is the name. It's on Daily Mail, which I'm a big fan. If you don't go to dailymail.com, you're missing out on some stuff. These cats have figured out a way to do some of the best reporting that's out there, most comprehensive. I don't know how they do it, but there was an article there that they have online that says more than half of Iowa Republicans think the United States is like Nazi Germany. Poll shows majority of GOP supporters agree with Trump's shocking claim after his 3rd indictment. And it references this company called, or a polling company called JL Partners. And it talks about a poll, but the poll itself, I think it referenced, was from like April, the polling that was done. Well, so we do what we do, man. We get here way early, Billy earlier than I do, and we start searching the interwebs. We find the JL Partners. Sure enough, they are a legit polling place. We start looking through their polling, only to discover that there is no poll, even though there's a poll for Iowa Republican caucuses. That was polling that was done April 6th of 2023. They give you the report. They give you the top lines. They give you the full data tables, all that stuff. We pour through that. And for the love of God, I can't find a single reference to any question that's ever been asked by them on that poll or any of the others that they have publicly available that has to do with the Nazis or whether or not people think that it's, I can't find anything like that. When I can't find it, I immediately go to Billy, who is the best researcher out there. And when Billy can't find it, you're in trouble. And Billy, did you have any luck?
No, this is really frustrating. I'm still looking, but I have gone through their other 5 polls that are on there. There's a nationwide poll that's close, but it's not the thing. They don't have the stuff. So I don't know. I can't find that question anywhere. And I'm also a little, I don't know. I'm going to have to research this polling company a little bit more because how they compartmentalize their data and when they're putting it in below, they seem to duplicate a lot of stuff. They seem to have odd ways of breaking down some of their information that I do not understand. So I'm not sure what they're doing, but I can't find that question on any of their most recent polls.
It would be a bizarre question to ask anyway.
Yes, it'd be super. And that's why I was like, why Iowa? So I thought, and I went through the Iowa one, and it corresponds with the dates given in the article, but it's not there. So I went to an April 16th poll that was done in Arizona, not there. I went to a later poll in April in New Hampshire, not there. I went to an earlier poll, again, or later poll even in New Hampshire that they just did in July, not there. And the most likely candidate was a nationwide poll done in the middle of June. And the questions are close. But that question that, again, is, and the important part is it's quoted in the article, that question is not there. I don't know where Daily Mail got that specific question, but it is not from the poll that is cited in the article. It's not.
I don't understand it, but here's something that grew out of that, though, and you may have seen this, Billy. It concerns me because, well, one, I can't just envision a polling company going out and polling anybody, let alone specifically Iowa Republican caucus goers or likely caucus goers, and say, do you agree with President Trump that the United States is becoming like Nazi Germany? I just can't envision that. And this poll would have been done in April. That was before 2 of the indictments, maybe all 3 of them. I can't remember when Alvin Bragg did his thing, but 2 of the indictments that took place. Either we're missing something, and if you guys can be internet sleuths out there too, you find this thing, you shoot it to us on the text at 710knus.com or 710knus, the app, and we'll take a look at it. But something interesting did come out of this, and that is in looking at their polling, they do some very interesting things. They do the Biden-Trump matchup. They do the Biden-DeSantis matchup and all this other stuff. And I'll read you some of these things because they're fascinating. But the ultimate question it gets to is not who's your preference for president. We've done that, right? But who would your preference be for vice president? Because that is a question that's being asked. It's kind of fascinating. It depends on who you support for president as to who you would support for vice president. And I am at this point just going to concede that, convicted or not, sentenced or not, it looks like, short of him opting out of the election here, Donald Trump is going to be the nominee for the Republicans. Now, anything could happen. Anything could change. But it just doesn't look like that for me right now. But let me read you a couple of these things. There was some polling that they did back in June of 2023. That's just a couple months ago. National polling, okay? And the national polling had some head-to-heads, very interesting stuff. So between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, it's 46-44 Biden. Biden and DeSantis, 44-43, with a greater number of undecided. And then he just continues to crush people after that all the way down, from Pence to Christie and all that other stuff. In a Biden-Trump matchup, Joe Biden overall would lead with independents by 5 points. However, if it's a Biden-DeSantis matchup, DeSantis wins independents by 5 points. Wait for this kicker right here. This is from the JL Partners people that did the polling. The single biggest lead over Biden with independent voters. Who would you guess would have the single biggest lead with independent voters over Joe Biden in this June of 2023 matchup? Billy, who do you think? Best guess. I'm sorry to make you put your ears back on, but.
Oh, that's a good one. Best one. How about Tim Scott?
Oh, you know what? That's a brilliant guess.
Yeah, that's what I would guess. Yeah, but who is it? Tim Scott would be the first one. The other one would be, and I'm going to do this on purpose. And yes, I'm making fun of his name. Vivek.
Vivek.
Vivax Remlin Ding Dong.
Yeah. Mike Pence.
What?
Yes, Mike Pence has in this poll the biggest lead over Joe Biden with independent voters.
Pence?
I know.
Huh.
I know. Crazy.
That's very strange.
He would take 43% of the mail vote to 36% for Biden.
Wow.
Insane.
That kind of sucks that his members of his party tried to kill him recently, because otherwise maybe he'd be running a little better.
If you are in our age group, man, if you're 45 and older and you're unaffiliated, you favor Pence over Biden.
That is weird.
He wins with independent Hispanic voters, 41-35.
Really?
Yep. And his loss with blacks or African Americans, however they're going to call it, is 60-18. That's pretty devastating.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah. Non-graduates, and I presume they mean non-graduates like college graduates, I presume. Pence wins out there 42-35. And then,
wow.
I'm telling you, man, this is pretty crazy.
I could have guessed for the next hour and wouldn't have been right.
If I asked you which of the polled candidates that were in the race in June of 2023 fares the worst against Biden for every group, who do you think?
Trump.
That's actually not true at all.
Okay.
Trump does really well. It's Chris Christie.
That
does the absolute worst.
Well, in part makes sense because I do believe that Christie is just kamikaze mission. He's just trying to hammer the Trump balloon.
I think that's true. I think that's true. He's just there to take a dude down. And even within the Republican Party, this polling by the JL folks has the least amount of enthusiasm for a Chris Christie matchup. Only 60% of the polled Republicans answered this question. How would you vote if the candidates were Joe Biden for the Democrats and this other person? Chris Christie, lowest of the four big names, at least on this one: Trump, DeSantis, Pence, and Christie. Some crazy other matchups amongst independents. Listen to this now. Amongst independent voters, when asked DeSantis, Pence, Trump, Christie, Biden leads with independent, and independent, such a stupid word, unaffiliated. Biden leads unaffiliated voters only against Trump. Only against Trump. And that's 42-38. Every other Republican candidate polled in this one, DeSantis, Pence, and Christie, even Chris Christie, lead Biden in a polling of unaffiliated voters. That is amazing. And there's an enthusiasm question that they asked to Democrats, which is, who are you most enthusiastic about defeating in a matchup? That one seems like that's low-hanging fruit. That's pretty easy. It's Donald Trump, but not by much. Not by much. It's 89% versus 86 for DeSantis, 85 for Pence. Have you ever seen one of those, what are those word things called, where there's like a bunch of words on a page, but the one that has been responded to the most or has the most activity is the biggest, like the font gets increased. I can't remember what that's called. Some kind of a goofy word puzzle or something like that. But when folks were asked their views of Donald Trump in one word amongst all voters, that's unaffiliated, Dems, Republican, the single most responded to word, and it's the biggest on this thing, is criminal. It's criminal. The other words that are large, and I don't know what the numbers are, these are just large, this is just this display, are dangerous, liar, disgusting, narcissist, evil, a-hole. Here's another one. Same kind of a word. I don't know what that's called, Billy. That thing where
it's called a word cloud.
Word cloud. Okay,
yeah,
here's a word cloud.
And just for our listeners, the word cloud is done where you ask respondents for their reaction. Don't prompt them with words. You just say, what's the word you use to describe X, whatever it is, and then they create a cloud around them with the words that were referred to more often being larger and highlighted than words that were not. So the smaller words are ones that were only mentioned a few times. The biggest words are the ones that were mentioned the most times.
We should do our own. Can we do a 710 word cloud? Is there some kind of a website out there that allows us to do it? Like,
we worried about that.
Listen, if we were to ask callers, at least on the top candidates, like, what's the single word you'd use to describe? I'd be interested to know that. Here's one for DeSantis. The one word amongst all voters, unaffiliated Republican Dems, the biggest words on there are fascist and unsure.
Yeah, I saw that too.
And do you see it? And the one that's just smaller than those two, racist.
Yes, and then just to the right of that, evil.
And then above that, though, leader.
Yeah, and hopeful.
Yeah, it's just, this is kind of crazy. Views
see the Biden one though.
Oh my God, the Biden one, folks! If you could see this thing,
you've got to describe what the number one word is and how large it is compared to all the other word clouds. Because this thing
it's the single biggest word on there, folks.
It is three times the size of any other words in Biden's word cloud
or anyone's
or Trump's word cloud. Yeah, huge.
If you had to guess what that word was, and I'm so sorry you saw it, Billy, because I would ask you, what would you guess? Everyone's going to go, duh. It's old.
Yeah.
Old. The next biggest word, and that word is even maybe bigger than it's about the same size as Trump's criminal, is incompetent.
Yeah.
I mean,
not
that's impressive of
That
all.
is.
And it looks like this is one of those things where they don't give you a list of words from which you choose.
No,
They
not
just
at
say,
all.
what's the single word? 303-696-1971. What is that single word? Let's go to the phone lines anyway. You know, I love the callers and I love the conversation. Jay, you're on 710. What do you think?
Well, I don't know what you're talking about with word cloud. What does it mean? Is it a popular word?
Yeah, exactly. So, Jay, how it works is you've seen this. You probably just didn't know it was called a word cloud. It looks like a cloud, but you're asked in this case, and I'll ask you after you make the point you want to make, like, what's that single word you would use to describe Joe Biden? And so they ask that of a number of people. And based on the frequency of responses, the word gets larger and more centered. If it's only used once, like for instance, on the Desantis one of the peripheral words, it's very small, is the word Disney. Like, what's that one word that you think of when you think of Ron DeSantis is Disney? There's another one that's down here that's fair or homophobic. And the bigger the word, it means the more often it was referenced. So for Biden, it's a giant 3-letter word of old. The next biggest word is incompetent. And then there's a ton of ones that float around here that are like steady, followed by dementia, senile, and all those things. So can you kind of picture that in your head?
Yeah. Oh, well, mine for Biden is simple. It's traitor.
Traitor. Oh, I'm going to see if that's even on here. Hang on. Keep going.
Military whole life, and I can't see anyone betraying us more than him to our enemies and to our allies.
Who do you see, by the way, as our enemies that he has betrayed? Yep, traitor's on here, man. It is on here. A couple of people.
China, one. How many people did they kill with their little flu they sent to us?
Yeah.
Including my family members. I mean, I could just go on and on.
Do you think he was part of somehow the COVID thing? Because it happened under DJT.
I talked to an officer that graduated our college, and that you've been to, and
go Buffs, baby.
The military, yeah. And he thinks that it was released to keep Trump out of office, and also to kill Americans. What they're going to kill Americans is to stay in your home, wear a diaper on your face, don't work.
Yeah.
Don't do anything and be afraid and hide behind the kitchen table.
Yeah.
Well, that'll shut the economy down right now.
Did they know it was going to make it from China to the U.S.? And I mean, the risk with that I guess, hypothesis is, how did they know what was going to happen or how Trump would respond or how you know what I mean? Like, doesn't that seem like a big risk?
Look, you got the best question in the world. How did they distribute it worldwide so heavily? And I do know.
Yeah.
They sent it from Wuhan to the Italian leather canning places. A lot of Chinese work in Italy doing leather for all of our cars and so forth. And we got sick November of 15, which I could tell you about later. Well, we got it in November of 19, before we even knew what COVID was. But their distribution of this was really incredible all over the world.
It's tough. It's tough for me to wrap my mind around that, but I understand now why your word for Biden is traitor. What's the one word you'd use for DJT?
Patriot, because he's, people don't understand. He also went to military school like a lot of people did, and we did. He loves this country, and he's got flaws. I do stuff every day that's absolutely ridiculous. But I love the country and I'll die for it.
Jay, why didn't he serve? I get the military academy thing, and I mean, I would have liked to have done that myself. But
I had family members of that, era that didn't serve, and Bill Clinton. I don't know, but
I know, but you wouldn't describe Bill as a patriot, but also he didn't go to a military academy, though, did he, Clinton?
No, of course not. No, he went to the chase somebody else's wife academy.
but Trump did. I've asked myself that a bunch. Like, why didn't this guy go serve when everyone else did? And if he's a patriot, isn't that an issue?
Why didn't Joe Biden serve?
Well, great, wonderful question. I think that's totally fair. But now we're comparing Trump to Biden, and we're saying, well, neither one of them served, but one of them's a patriot because he went to an academy. I'm just saying, I don't know why he didn't serve. And I imagine that's why the Bone Spurs thing, I've heard that. Maybe it's true. I don't know. It just strikes me as silly. Can I ask you a couple more of these real quick? DeSantis. What would you use for one word for DeSantis?
Well, I think two words is hot wife.
Unfortunately, hot wife, not an option because it's two words. What would you say just about the man?
I like his style. I like that he's lassoed Florida, and
I know one word, dude. Give me the one word, Jay. Come on, one single word.
It seems gentleman. He seems like a gentleman. I
Okay,
don't know
gentleman. It's so funny. You got it. These things are so crazy. They run and I'm looking for it. That's a good one. I don't see gentleman on there. What would you say? What would you say for Chris Christie?
Balloon.
Now listen, it's funny you say that because the single biggest word, which means the one that was most often referenced during this poll, is fat. That's the number one word that I'm telling you in this cloud thing. The number one word was fat. And then the other two next biggest words are unknown and unsure. There's an IDK in there that showed up a lot. And then some others that are a little smaller are joke, irrelevant, loser. There's one that's smart. There's one that's dumb. It's so interesting. This is just fascinating to me. All right, I'm going to throw Gavin Newsom at you.
All right.
What do you think? One word.
What's the short word for hair cream? Called Bro cream?
It's funny you bring that up. The single biggest word, and I think this works to his benefit because it makes him undefined, is unknown. The next biggest word is unsure. After that, it's liberal, crazy, evil, California, smart. I'm looking for the hair thing on here because it's, I'm going to look for that. Slick. I mean, maybe slick is as close as it gets because I don't see anything else that's related to his hair. I see the word fair, which rhymes with hair. Handsome. I see handsome.
Be good looking dude. Hey, by the way, go back to Christie. So I used to be a lifeguard on the beach, right? You see Chris Christie in that lawn chair sitting on the beach. That is a lifeguard's worst nightmare, is having a guy like that drown.
No, you want to see him in the lawn chair. It's when he pops up and heads into the ocean that you start thinking, oh man, I'm getting wet today. You know what I mean? Like this is happening. Hey Jay, thanks for the phone call, my friend. I appreciate you getting us kicked off. Frank and everyone else that's calling in right now too. And frankly, Jay's line is open, 303-696-1970. What's that one word? As we look at this thing, and I'll keep telling you about the other interesting things about the poll, what's that one word you would use to describe these candidates? The one word. Hot wife is 2. I don't think it's hyphenated. What one word would you use to describe the big candidates out there? And we'll see how it fits into our word cloud here. I wish we could come up with one, Billy. I wish we could make one. You can text it in at 710KNUS, 710KNUS.com. You can also check us out on the Rumble and throw it in there. I think we're on the YouTubes and stuff like that. We'll figure out how to do all that stuff too. Before I cut away, though, let me tell you about Mitch Floria from the Art of Granite. I was in a house the other day where I think it must have been quartz, which is the man-made stuff. Incredible counter. It was like a white with a little bit of these veins, these kind of like a gray. I'm not good with the colors, kind of veins it was really striking. And of course it was a Mitch Floria Art of Granite product. And I thought, man, this dude, it's not just about the fact that this guy can produce them. He installs them. He makes people happy. He's all about customer service. If you're looking for someone who does business the old fashioned way, and that's to do the handshake, look you in the eye. And by the way, beware. If you do that, you will close the deal with Mitch. So you get out there to his showroom at the corner of 6th Avenue and Colfax-ish. And I'm telling you, 1, you'll be blown away by the selection, but 2, you're going to end up saying, oh my God, we just got new countertops for the kitchen and the bathroom. And he'll make it easy for you to make that decision. Oh, there's some stuff on the Rumble right now that we're showing these pictures of his product. Unbelievable. Just beautiful. He'll give you the wholesale prices. And if that's not enough, that's okay. He loves 710 listeners. You tell him you listen to the George Show, bam, you get the bathroom countertop for free with the kitchen countertop package. Or if you're only doing one room, that's cool. He'll throw in the sink for free. Give Mitch a call on the phone that rings in his pocket, 303-386-5919, 303-386-5919, or check him out at theartofgranite.com. That's theartofgranite.com. Stick around. We'll get back to the calls. Your text, George Brauchler, 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes, all in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Back in black right here on the George Show, 710 KNUS in the 8 o'clock hour. You know our number. It's 303-696-1971. Use it. What one word would you use to describe the top candidates for president of the United States? The JL folks did, JL Partners, who did a polling from June of 2023, and fascinating stuff. Love to get your thoughts on it. You can text it in, but I prefer the calls. Let's go to Frank from Golden. You're on 710. Frank, what do you think?
Hey, George. Hey, I'm not too surprised by those polls at all.
Really?
I think that, yeah, I really am not. I think that a lot of this election or this coming nomination process and things like that is going to center a lot around the January 6th stuff. I really do. I think it's going to become a topic and a flashpoint for candidates. And I think that's why Pence pulls more independent voters than basically any of the other potential candidates out there, because I think he was a hero in that moment and stood up and did the right thing. And I think that Republicans got to start getting their heads around, if you're going to nominate Donald Trump, you're going to lose. And that those polls tell you that, because you're looking at Biden. I mean, I don't know hardly any Democrats who want to continue with Biden. He's just utterly out to lunch. He's vacant. He's got, a form of dementia, and it's, whether he is currently a conscious crook, he certainly was a conscious crook at some point, but he's just not capable of even functioning in that capacity anymore. He's out. And if you're losing to Biden with Trump, what other alternative, any Democrat alternative, if you can run any empty suit and beat Trump, which is what Biden is, if Trump's your nominee, you're losing. And that's what you better start getting your heads around, folks. That's just the fact.
What would you say in light of that then? What's that one word you'd use for Trump?
Sick. That's the one word I'd use to describe Trump.
Now, how would you describe yourself as a voter? Being. I'm asking because they've broken this down, this word cloud thing, and I'm looking.
Yeah,
I don't see the word.
I'm unaffiliated. You guys know I'm unaffiliated, but I'm conservative on basically all fiscal issues and most social issues. I just don't get myself wrapped around the axle of single social issues.
So here's the word cloud for amongst independent voters, and I hate that term, but amongst unaffiliated voters, it looks like the biggest word in the middle is still criminal, followed by disgusting, and then there's a hole on there, crazy, narcissist, and then a bunch of other words like that. This again.
Those are all accurate. Every one of those is an accurate descriptor. I just think sick wraps it up. I think you can incorporate every one of those into my one-word descriptor of sick, because he's a sick human being.
But sick. Are you talking about sick in terms of like a mental illness? Because I don't think that's. Yes. I don't think that's fair.
I think he fits. I think he definitely fits a DSM diagnosis of a what would be called a narcissist. What is currently what we have colloquially used as a narcissist. And I think he's utterly about himself. There isn't any. He has absolutely no care beyond himself. There isn't any other care that he has.
Some of the texters have said criminal for their big word. The other one for both Biden and Trump, and firm. Interestingly, for Republican voters, the biggest word right there, dead center in the middle, is exactly what Jay said. It's patriot. And then there's leader, awesome, businessman, amazing, MAGA.
How can that blows me away. Patriot. I think that he can act patriotically to serve his own purpose, but he is not a patriot. He basically fanned the flames of a insurrection. I mean, and ignored any sort. He hurt the democracy by not just accepting proven facts, stepping aside, and letting the vote.
And Frank, you know, there's going to be a bunch of people out there who are like, proven facts, my keister, that nothing's been proven other than that there were irregularities with it. You know that they're going to say that. Let me run this stuff by you. Even with Republican voters, I mean, the word cloud for Chris Christie. What would you say about Chris Christie?
Oh God,
one word.
Okay, one word. I just think unrealistic, I guess, is what I would say.
See, you're too educated, because the number one word for even unaffiliateds is fat. I'm
Fat.
not kidding. I'm not kidding.
But
this is crazy.
Well, yeah, I don't. I guess, yeah. I guess, yeah, slothful or something like that would come to mind, just because he apparently can't keep himself, put together. I mean, that's a problem. I think that people who can't, unless he has some genetic disorder, I don't understand
He's
why
big boned, man. You can't judge the guy for being big boned. What's wrong with that?
No, I know.
I'm
but
kidding.
Look,
I'm joking.
Look at his composition and see.
Can I convert you to one other piece of information that I want to ask you about? Oh no, two. What would you say about Biden? What's your one word for Biden?
God, I was going to say vacuous, but I don't think that. I think he's just demented at this point. He's
that's
demented.
in there.
I mean,
there are a lot of words around his mental faculties that are on there. Nothing as big as old, and the one after that, incompetent, which I imagine touches on that. But here's another poll, and I want to run this by you, Frank. New Hampshire, there was a poll just last month that this same JL group did, the New Hampshire primary polling, and it says right here they polled a representative sample of 591 registered Republicans and undeclared voters who would request a ballot, blah, 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 blah. But one of the interesting things they do with this is vice presidential preference. Who would be your vice presidential preference for Donald Trump? Now, you're not going to vote for him if he's at the top of the ticket, but who would be the most acceptable vice president?
I like Tim Scott. I think he's got an actual message that works, but that's who I think I would throw out there. I don't,
Buddy, according to this poll,
he's an honest guy.
He surged to first place for July 23rd of 2023. He has 19% support of those. What's interesting is much of that vote seems to have come from Nikki Haley and Carrie Lake. So Carrie Lake had been the front runner back in April for that thing. I know. But she's dropped from 16 to 8%. Nikki Haley dropped from 21 to 15. Tim Scott surged from 8 to 19%. And those, other than unsure, which is at 15, those are the top three. Tim Scott, Nikki Haley, and Carrie Lake. Another guy who saw a significant uptick is some dude named Vivek Ramalama Ding Dong. I can't. Ramaswamy. Ramaswamy. That guy. Any of those people, and I know you said you're a Tim Scott person. Any of those people stick out in your mind as, that might be good.
I don't. Not. It's more a matter of like who would be who I wouldn't want to see. That would be like Carrie Lake. I don't know anything about Ramaswamy. I mean, outside of I know he threw his hat in the ring and he seems to be drawing some gravity, but beyond that, I don't know. I think Nikki Haley is an acceptable option.
Yeah.
But I mean, good God, Carrie Lake. How does she bubble up to the surface of anything?
And I don't know how she's going to serve as vice president while she's still battling to be governor of Arizona.
Yeah. Can I offer another word for Biden that dawned on me?
Yep.
The mummy.
Just mummy. Just mummy.
Just mummy.
Yeah, because if you do then we're in the 2-word thing, and then we have to go back to Jay's hot mom thing or hot wife. We can't do that.
Yeah.
Hot mom.
No. But if you unwrapped a mummy skull, it'd look like Biden. I mean, I think that's what.
What's interesting is how much some of these things are really straight up appearance. I am taken with how many people, regardless of political affiliation, have used the word fat as the one word to describe Chris Christie. Damn. You know what I mean? You spend your career doing something. You know what I mean? The guy was a U.S. attorney, he was a prosecutor, he was a governor, presidential candidate. And at the end of the day, the word most often associated with you compared to others is fat. Like, oh man, maybe. And someone texted in, how about Ozempic? I don't know. We'll have to find out. Hey, Frank, have a great weekend, my man. Thank you for the phone call. Frank's line is open, 303-696-1971. Texts are pouring in too. You can make that happen. I'm still willing to ride this train for a bit. We're going to come back from a break here, but how's this? Someone said for Trump, childish, impetuous. One word for Christie, delusional. Have we ever had a candidate so universally hated as Trump? Well, I don't think he's universally hated. I think that's too strong. But have we ever had a candidate who is hated by those who hate him as passionately as Trump? I don't think so. Not in my lifetime. There has not been a candidate as high profile, as successful as Donald Trump, who has been more hated by the people who are inclined to oppose him than I just don't think that's true. But the flip side is true too. I don't know of a candidate in my lifetime, including Ronald Reagan, who was as beloved by the people that support him as Trump is. And by beloved to the exclusion of things like rationality and facts and stuff like that. I think that's true. This guy inspires a level of loyalty and devotion from folks that I've just never seen in politics. Never, ever, never seen it in politics. So that's part true. Here's one for Trump and Biden. Gaslighty, which I'll take gaslight, but gaslighty, that's very interesting as well. You can join the text and the calls 303-696-1971. We're going to cut away for a break. When we come back, it's you and me. And what's that one word? The one word you'd use to describe Trump, the one word you'd use to describe Biden, and hell, I'll do DeSantis and Christie also. And if you got thoughts on vice president, I'd love to know them because we've got the poll that says what New Hampshireites think. George Brauchler, 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes, all in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
George Brauchler back with you here, 710 KNUS. Short on time for this hour. I told Billy at some point here I was going to want to go through this. There's some texts that do great job here. Here's one word for Trump: egomaniac, Biden, puppet, Christie, dreamer, or Ronnie, wannabe. Others that have come in here, they're all very consistent. I'm taken with the fat one for Christie. But Billy, let me get yours in here. We may not have time for all the explanation, but if I ask you one word, let's start with the easy stuff first. One word to describe Chris Christie.
Chris Christie. Oh God, honestly, I would go with fat as well.
Either
that or kamikaze. That's where I'd go with.
Oh, that's an interesting one because what are you on?
Yeah.
How about one word to describe? And this isn't on our word cloud thing, but Vivek.
Oh gosh. Okay. One word to describe him. Unserious.
Okay, you're interesting. How about Joltin' Joe Biden?
Old.
Yep. See, that's the biggest damn word, old.
Absolutely.
And those are characteristics. Fat, old. Those. All right, we're going to go for the big one.
Oh boy.
The DJT.
That's narcissism. Narcissist.
And that is a big word. It's not the predominant word, but it is a dominant word on that thing. Narcissist is a lot that's on there.
Oh yeah.
That's interesting. And I told you I'd ask you this too in the seconds that we have. If you had to pick a vice president for DJT, who I think is going to be the Republican nominee, who do you pick?
His bathroom mirror. Because he loves nobody and doesn't trust anybody more than himself.
You can't.
It would be his mirror.
That sounds like an SNL skit. Like, I'm announcing my running mate. It's me.
Yes. He will come out and it will be a cardboard cutout of himself. And he's like, you get two Trumps for one. Yes, that's what he's going to do.
Isn't that a scene from Horrible Bosses when Kevin Spacey appoints himself to be he promotes himself into the position that he creates?
That's what's going to happen.
Oh my goodness. Well, listen, stick around. We got other topics I want to talk. I'm happy to, by the way, to continue this. I love the one word thing because it really makes you distill down your thoughts. What one word would you use to describe these presidential candidates, and who should the vice president be for DJT? Because it's going to be DJT. Let's admit that to ourselves. 303-696-1971. That's the fun number. Text us from the app or the emails. George Brauchler, 710.
Why should you buy your next vehicle at Castle Rock Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram? We make car shopping easy. We have a huge inventory of new and pre-owned vehicles. We can even custom order. We make it easy. Easy financing, friendly staff. And when it comes to quality service, our expert technicians keep your vehicle in top shape. Visit us today off of Highway 25 and Plum Creek, or shop online at castlerockcdjr.com. Castle Rock Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Car shopping made easy. Why should you buy?
Imagine the lifelong impact of a journey to the Holy Land, surrounded by like-minded travelers. Picture yourself stepping foot in iconic locations right out of history. With nationally syndicated radio hosts Dennis Prager and Mike Gallagher, you'll gain firsthand understanding of the spiritual and political importance of this vital region.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher here. I hope you'll join Dennis Prager and me on an amazing journey through Israel in October 2023.
Discover Israel's vibrant culture and why this nation is such a strategic partner for the United States. Join Dennis Prager and Mike Gallagher on this life-enriching Israel tour, October 25th through November 3rd, 2023. For more information, call 855-565-5519 or visit standwithisraeltour.com.
Booyah Shaka! It is the final hour of the George Show, 710 KNUS. Charlie Kirk at 10. Dennis Prager, who will be hosting in-person, intimate setting, View House, August 30th. You, me, cigars, alcohol, some sort of carving table, which I think it can be expanded to. It's either wood, soap, and we'll have to get our friend of the show involved on this, Priscilla Ron, if it is, or it's wood, and I just don't know what it is. But there's a carving table. There's also a free drink. There's also the intimate setting where you get to ask questions of the big man, Dennis Prager. And then, of course, at 1:00, we have Seb Gorka. At 3:00, it's Deb Flora, but I've been told by our unofficial official historian, Alexa, that that's going to be Jimmy S. And then this afternoon, filling in for Stephen Tubbs, who there are odds makers who are wondering if, in fact, he hasn't been taken hostage at some point. So if you see him, I don't know, we'll find. I hope not. But if so, we'll be part of the bidding on releasing him. But filling in for him is Jeff Hunt. Man, I love listening to Jeff. Dude has great energy, wicked smart, great conservative, lives in America. And by America, I mean Elbert County. So tune in and listen to him from 4 to 7 on your drive home. Now, here's what we're going to do before we get to Kathleen and others on the line at 303-696-1971. And that is this, and I didn't know that this topic would take on the way it has, but it has. And I want to continue to have this conversation with you through the texts and the calls and the rumbles and all the other stuff. But there's this word cloud thing that was generated by these JL partners about, preference stuff from New Hampshire people likely to participate in the primary, Iowa people likely to participate in the caucus, all Republicans. And the words that they use, not all word Republicans for the word cloud, but the words they would use to describe just one word, one single word. And it generated this word cloud thing. And if you don't know what a word cloud is, join the club, because I didn't know that's what it was called. But it's this cloud where the more frequently a term is used, the more it shows up in the middle and predominant and big. So if a word is used but only once, it's on the periphery and it's teeny tiny. And they did stuff like this for all the candidates. And I was asking the question, what's the one word you would use? And it's interesting for the listeners, the participating listeners, how it runs the gamut. I mean, you've had people text in and talk about criminal and narcissist for DJT. Others, here's another good one. Best word to describe Trump: winning. Okay, I think that's pretty good too. Here's one: Trump won't be in office, but Trump DeSantis might be a ticket, but the deep state will keep Trump out no matter what. Let me make clear why that's important. I'd also said this poll that JL put out from last month in New Hampshire was your first place choice for vice president. Who do you want to see be the first place choice for vice president for DJT? Not who he's going to pick, but who you'd like to see. And there's all the names up there you can imagine. Pretty interesting results. Tim Scott surged to first place in that latest thing. Here's another one. Good morning, George. I think DJT's running mate needs to be DeSantis. We have to look not just at 24, but 28 if when Trump wins and they somehow make something stick when they keep going after him. At least there's a very good VP to step in the role and will also be ready to run for 2 terms. I think that's a pragmatic, practical approach. But how do you pick a guy who you've claimed has been disloyal to you as your number 2 guy? I mean, you've taken shots at this guy. You've criticized the way he's run Florida under the COVID. How do you then go, let's be a team? And maybe you go, oh, look at Reagan Bush. Bush called it voodoo economics and he ended up being the VP. Maybe that could happen. 303-696-1971. I don't think Trump wants any competition, though, for who's the best anywhere near the White House. Let's go to Kathleen from Denver. You're on 710. Kathleen, what do you think?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I really like your word cloud, and I have a word, but may I make a comment first?
Yeah, of course.
I think that the ones who went to military school and did not serve had a political career in mind, and military school looked really good on their resume.
Interesting.
Plus, and they didn't serve because they'd be shot at.
You think that they did it out of some sort of fear or cowardice or something like that?
Right.
Well, I think some people draw those conclusions. I think it's just a stretch for me, Kathleen, to try to figure out what that other reason is that they didn't end up going on to serve, especially when that age that he was at during that time would have been people are going to war and getting shot at time. So that's interesting. I know the Bone Spurs explanation is out there. I don't know. It just, we talked to Anthony Hartsook yesterday, Tony Hartsook. He's the HD 44 rep. I don't know if you heard that. He's driving his son to the Citadel. I promise you his son is going to end up serving in the military for many, many years on active duty. Whether that sends him into harm's way or not, that's just how they're built. This guy doesn't seem to be built that way.
Exactly. Yeah. There are people who just really serve and want to serve and have enthusiasm for it, despite the consequences. Yeah, I agree.
Well, what's your sense? What's that word you'd use? Let me throw it at you in the reverse order of importance. How about Chris Christie? What's that word you'd use?
Well, I have a word for all of them.
Can we take them individually? I hope it's not the same word for all of them. What?
It is.
Well, what word would you use for Christie? Just Christie, unique to him.
Just Christie. Sneaky.
Interesting. Based on what? Give us a little more.
Oh, it's bridge thing.
Oh, the bridge thing. That's also very interesting, insightful. What one word would you use for Ron DeSantis?
Oh, gosh. He's kind of I only have two words.
But you get one. You just get the one.
Impulsive.
Oh, interesting. Okay, now tell me why you picked impulsive.
It seems like he reacts to the situation and doesn't look at the big picture, really.
That's interesting. Do you think he's more reactive than proactive?
Yes.
That's fascinating. Okay, let's go to the big guys now. How about President Biden?
Oh, man. Crooked.
Okay. You know what? That's one that shows up on there. What are you basing that on? What's the thing when you think crooked? What's that part you're focused on?
I'm focused on his secret money dealings.
Mm-hmm. Through his son? Uh-oh.
Sorry, I dropped you.
Oh, my gosh. I thought you went down a well or something.
Oh,
Lassie, go get Kathleen. Yeah.
Save me.
Well, but yeah, the secret dealings, I get that. Can I ask you some others? Donald Trump, that's the big one. What word would you use to describe the big DJT?
Abhorrent.
Abhorrent?
Yes.
What's the basis for that one? What are you thinking of when you think of that?
I'm thinking of the way that he treats other people, and the lack of any kind of empathy he has. I say narcissistic, but that's been said before.
That's why it's such a big word on his word cloud. Yeah.
Right. He's just so much more than that. He's just like a cloud of flies,
If I asked you, Kathleen, in light of that, let's just say it ends up the way it looks like it's going to be, and that's going to be a Biden-Trump ticket. What do you do with your vote?
Gee whiz. I just couldn't. I'd have to do it for somebody who was down below them.
That's interesting. You would not. And then for vice president, if you had, and I should have asked you this, Kathleen, if you're willing to tell us, what are you registered?
Independent.
Okay, so you're an unaffiliated voter. If you were going to pick a vice president for President Trump, and I mean a good one that you thought would make a difference in a positive way, who would you pick?
Oh, I can't even think of anybody.
Nobody that you know of that's on the list? There's the Carrie Lakes and the Tim Scotts and the Nikki Haley's and Pence, Pompeo, Vivek, Ramaswamy. I'm going to keep working on that one. Any of those people tickle your fancy?
No. I think it would have to be an unknown, and I think it would have to be an obvious token to draw in voters. So it'd have to be somebody who was probably black.
And why do you say that? Like a Tim Scott? Because he's known, but he's African American.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Kathleen, I really appreciate the phone call and you getting us kicked off. Have a great weekend. Kathleen's line is open at 303-696-1971. And I have every intention in the world of grabbing up Jim and Joe and everybody else that's calling in right now. But can I quickly do you one big favor? And I should tell you, during the break, I told you I get these emails on these ranch style homes in the park. Folks, there's something going on because in today's, usually there's like 2 listings or something. And in the past, it had been price reduced. Now there are probably out of 7 or 8 homes that showed up in my email today, 6 of them were new listings. And that's interesting, given that we're at that time of the home buying season when kids are already starting to go to school. Very interesting. And a price increase on a home. That tells me this market, and you heard Brian Gray talk about it at the end of the 7 o'clock hour. The housing market's coming back. And when I say coming back, it really didn't go anywhere. It's going to be more competitive. If you want to be successful in that competition, you need to call Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams. Don't navigate these waters by yourself. Man, I've tried to do that before. It sucked. And you always end up regretting it because there was something you didn't know about the process that would have helped you out, that they knew about the process. They also run a lot of interference for you in the research department, also dealing with buyers. It's just nice to be able to trust someone. And Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team are people that you can trust. They've been doing it for decades. They sell for more than others. They sell faster than others. They get you into that dream home. If you're thinking of buying or selling a home, there really aren't any good reasons to not start with the Ribble Group. You can check them out online at gayhasthebuyers.com because she does over 14,400 of them. Gay, Gaye, hasthebuyers.com. Or you can pick up the phone and call them at this specific number, 833-301-SOLD. That spells sold because that's what they do. 833-301-SOLD, 833-301-SOLD. Let's go to the phone lines. Jim from Highlands Ranch, you're on 710. Jim, what do you think?
Hey, well, for the word for Trump, it's very difficult, but I would say strong. He's just strong. He will not quit. He will not capitulate. He will just stand strong, and no matter what they throw at him, most people would just give it up and quit. So I would say that would be my number one word for him.
Jim,
strong.
that word, I'm looking at it now, and there's no way to rank order them other than to just visually look. That word is a prominent one in the word cloud for Republican voters. So like the ones in the middle are patriot leader, awesome businessman. And then right after that, I'd say is strong, amazing, and MAGA. Yeah. So you are right there with the Republican voters that were polled here. How about Chris Christie, only because it's interesting?
He's a loser.
Oh my God, buddy, you've hit another word. Republican voters. The 4 biggest words are fat, unsure, unknown, and loser. That is a tough one.
He's a bona fide loser. I mean, that guy, I wouldn't.
And why do you call him that? At one point, Trump relied upon him for something. Why is your opinion of him loser?
Well, there's just so many things. Remember when he was on the beach, he had shut down the beach, but then him and his family are seen on the beach. Then he did the whole the bridge thing where he, denied doing it. And then it came out he did it. And then there's the thing where he supports Trump, but then he backstabs Trump. And, he's just an absolute pathetic individual. I mean, seriously, there's nothing I can't find a good word.
Let's go to the big ones. What word would you use to describe the current occupant of the White House, President Biden?
Well, he's a traitor, but I know that one's been used, so I'd say corrupt.
Okay, interesting. If I'm looking at, and I can't, Billy, maybe you can find, I can't find one that's Republicans and their words for Biden, but I can find all voters. So unaffiliated, DNR. Old, of course, we told you is number 1. Number 2 is incompetent. Corrupt, I got to say, I think is the 3rd largest. It's almost dead center, right above old. Corrupt is that. When you say corrupt, what are you thinking?
Oh, go down the list. Go down Ukraine, China, Russia. He's a liar. He is just a complete immoral person. I mean, he is just an absolute pathetic bag of crap. Now, I mean, there's just nothing about him.
Let's go to the other topic here, and that is vice presidential choice. If you had to pick one, who would you pick?
Well, the one.
Well, hold on. I almost cheated you out of the one I needed to ask you about, buddy. I'm so sorry. DeSantis. Sorry.
Sellout.
Why sellout? That's interesting. Why sellout?
Because he takes money from all the swamp. He acts like he's some kind of America First person, but then yet you look at where he gets his money. Anytime you're aligned with Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan, Karl Rove, you're a sellout. And there's no way. I mean, I would vote for him over any Democrat. Don't get me wrong.
Okay, that's.
But he's certainly, But well, personally, I'd even vote for Mike Pence, who I think is probably the biggest coward I've ever seen.
Why would you call Pence a coward?
Well, because he didn't stand up. He didn't stand up. All anybody was asking him to do. He had. Now, wait a minute. He had senators and he had congressmen.
Yeah.
Asking him to do something, which the Constitution allowed him to do.
Do you see it as
send it back to the states for recertification?
Is it possible though to see him as someone who stood up to the president of the United States and the handful of congressmen and congresswomen that asked him to take those steps? Do you see that as? Yeah. Well, yeah. I count that in Congress too. That he stood up to them when they were telling him, and these are his friends and his allies and the president that he served, and he stood up and said, no, I'm not going to do it. Do you think that it's possible to see it less as an act of cowardice and more as an act of courage and principle for him, even if you disagree with it? You disagree with it. I get that.
No, I would give it one of two things. I believe it was cowardice because I think he knows perfectly well. I think him and Paul Ryan, before Trump got the nomination, were going to try to run together. I believe he was a good vice president, but it's one of two things for him. Either he's a coward or he's stupid. There's no middle ground, because what he did when you saw all the different things in all the different states and all they were saying is we want these things sent back for recertification. That's it. And he's a coward. Or if you believe
someone's
that
texting in here that
stupid.
Someone texted in here all caps, so you know that they're screaming. Pence stood up to Trump. And I get what you're saying. I don't want to turn this into a debate about whether he had the authority to do it. I don't think he did. I don't think there's any legitimate.
So if he didn't have the authority to do it, if they didn't have the authority to do it, why, when the Democrats got in control, did they pass a law to keep it from happening?
I think that one thing can be true, and that is that, hey, this has never been done before. No one would ever dream to think that this is possible. We think it's already in the law. And then when somebody goes that direction, say, let's just make sure we never, ever have to have this debate again, and to put something like that in there. That's my best guess.
No, my best guess is he was a congressman. He's a swamp creature, and he's a coward. And I would hate to have to cast a vote for him.
But I
think you would hate to have to cast. Yeah, like you would hate to have to cast a vote for Trump. I think Trump's the biggest fighter, strong. He did everything he said he would do as a president, or he at least tried to do everything he said he could do. By far, way better than any other president. And
you and I have had the debate too about whether or not he got the wall built and the Mexicans paid for it and all that. But I don't want to do that debate right now. Let's just cut to the vice president thing too, because we can do that in the coming months. But talk about vice president. Who do you think would make the best vice president?
Well, first off, I try to find somebody out of a swing state that was popular. So in that case, I would guess right now the only person I can think of is Kari Lake, because I believe Kari Lake is extremely popular in Arizona. I have quite a few people who live in Arizona that truly believe she won that election. And, obviously there's still, I don't know what's going on with her lately from anybody.
Here's what's interesting about that.
She could swing Arizona.
Maybe, although she didn't win it for the governor thing. But listen to this. So here's what this poll says. I found this interesting. The top choice for vice president amongst Trump voters, and again, this is just one poll that was done last month in New Hampshire, so take it for what it's worth. Kari Lake is in second place, who had been in first at an earlier poll by 26% in April. She was the first choice of all those people. She fell 9 points. She's tied for second with Tim Scott. Guess who surged to number one out of Trump supporters for vice president? Vivek, yeah, Ramaswamy.
He's a great speaker. He's super smart. He takes on fights like Trump. I like him a lot, but I don't think he's going to deliver a swing state. And we need to win the swing states. Make no mistake about it. The election will be stolen again. unless we do something to keep it from happening. Anybody who believes the election wasn't stolen, I just can't help you. Anyway, we're just going to have to disagree. I think you're a fool. You think I'm a fool for thinking it was. I think anybody that thinks the election wasn't flat out stolen is just a fool. I mean, I got a broken bridge for you.
Jim, thanks for the phone call, man. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, buddy. Thanks for keeping it going. Jim's line is open. The rest of the lines are all full, including Joe and others that Billy's screening right now. But just keep calling in. Jim's line is open, 303-696-1971. I'm going to cut away for a break. And when we come back, of course, I will take you and the texts that keep coming in as well. Someone says, I despise voice texting. Can't wait to read that one. Hey, it's George Brauchler on the George Show, 710 KNUS.
Imagine the lifelong impact of a journey to the Holy Land, surrounded by like-minded travelers. Picture yourself stepping foot in iconic locations right out of history. With nationally syndicated radio hosts Dennis Prager and Mike Gallagher, you'll gain firsthand understanding of the spiritual and political importance of this vital region.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher here. I hope you'll join Dennis Prager and me on an amazing journey through Israel in October 2023.
Discover Israel's vibrant culture and why this nation is such a strategic partner for the United States. Join Dennis Prager and Mike Gallagher on this life-enriching Israel tour, October 25th through November 3rd, 2023. For more information, call 855-565-5519 or visit standwithisraeltour.com.
George Brauchler back with you here, 710 KNUS, going right to the text, and then we'll get to the phone lines with Joe and others. 303-696-1971 line is open. Here's one that said, I would choose Vivek Ramaswamy for vice president for anyone. I asked why, and a texter said he's young, techno, and entrepreneurial smart. He's created and grown a very successful business. He loves and believes in the ideals of America. I think a vice president position would give him the experience. Can't make how public entities work or don't. And then after the 4 years, he could hit the ground running as a great president. Here's another. And hence the right will not win with your last caller. How is denying the election going to win swing states and or independents? The clown show continues. Another texter. Candace Owens will get the black vote, and I believe she'd make an excellent VP. That's a super interesting choice. It's not one that's on here, though, but it ought to be. This one even includes MTG, but interestingly, she is as favorable for VP among Trump voters as is, it looks like, nope, I'm sorry, as all voters, as is Glenn Youngkin, which is interesting as well. Oh, Billy's got a question. Billy, bathroom?
Yeah, someone was talking with Vivek. He's going to run into some problems soon, and it's because he's trying to get noticed and he's trying to break through, and so he's going to be taking some positions that are going to be problematic in the future. One of the recent ones that he took is ending birthright citizenship. That's a tough one. That is a real tough one, especially because, the whole Constitution thing.
And there is a Constitution, it turns out.
I've been surprised. Evidently, certainly. And it does outline what birthright citizenship is. And he's taking positions along that line that are going to be very difficult to defend. And if he gets to whatever office it is, incredibly difficult to implement. He's making promises that his checkbook's not going to be able to cash.
Let's see if I know this is going to sound crack smoke crazy. Let's see if we can't get him on the show. I mean, he's trying to get traction. I mean, maybe he'll go anywhere. I don't know. He's on all the big shows and stuff. I'm interested in all the positions that he's taken in the year prior to him deciding he wanted to be president, including the monies he's given to a whole bunch of Democrat candidates for stuff. That's just very interesting to me. 303-696-1971 is the number. Joe, you're on 710 KNUS. What do you think, sir?
Well, hi, George.
Hello, Joe.
Well, let's start with where your conversation went. Vivek Ramaswamy, great guy, great platform.
Yeah.
Can't be president. And for one of the reasons that we mentioned right there, one, it's not birthright citizenship that allows you to become a president. It's natural born citizenship. And if he does get some kind of qualification or
like
becomes nominated for the vice presidency, I hope some Republican immediately challenges his natural born citizenship, because again, you have to have both parents to be natural born citizen. I know it hasn't been challenged, at least in our lifetimes. It has in the past, but if it was challenged, here's the problem. You can't have dual citizenship to be president of the United States. You can't be a citizen of Pakistan and a citizen of the United States.
That makes sense to me.
And be the president.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Let's get to the words. I'm interested for you, man. Let's start with I'll go in reverse order again. We'll build up to the big man. Chris Christie.
Flip-flopper.
Okay, give me that. Why a flip-flopper?
He is a stick your finger in the wind guy. I mean, he immediately ran over to CNN as their, shill Republican, quote, Republican, unquote. I mean, Rhino also fits, but it's been used. He'll go any which way he can that benefits him politically. He's like Arlen Specter. I left the Republican Party because the Republican Party left me. Yeah, whatever, Arlen. But the idea that Chris Christie is viable is only in the mind of a Democrat.
I also think he doesn't think he's viable. I really think I think Billy's word is the best one, is kamikaze. I think that dude is just there to try to bring down Trump. That's it.
Yeah, he's a hater, a snake.
Well, so we could let's use the flip-flopper. I didn't see that one on there, but that's a good one. Let's go with big Ron D, Ron DeSantis.
Ron D, turncoat.
Okay, let me see. I'm looking for it. Keep talking, though. Why do you say turncoat? What did he do to be a turncoat?
Well, what he did is honestly, he peed on the guy that actually got him his job.
How did he do that?
I mean, what he did was he instead of stepping aside and saying, you know what, I would be a great vice president and president in the next election, but you're the man, Donald Trump. You got me this job. I'll support you every which way from Sunday. And that's what he should have done. Instead, it was, now it's, the insurrection. We've got to start looking at it because, hey, it might be me as president. That's the only reason that Ron DeSantis is changing his tune. Also, he's flip-flopped on the war because of the money. He's getting big money supporters that support the disaster from Ukraine. Oh, from the establishment. Oh, you want the list? I'll see if I can get your list, George.
If it's just the general establishment, I get that. But I mean, I thought there was maybe somebody specifically tied to something in Ukraine that you could financially put together. It doesn't matter. I get it. How about Joe Biden?
Joe Biden. I want to do all kinds of hyphenated words, but I'll just go with fascist.
Hold on here. I got to get to that right slide. Okay. All voters, because there isn't a Republican one. It doesn't look like they asked it. I told you was the biggest one. I'm looking for Puppet was one that was interesting. Don't see fascist on there, but that doesn't mean you can't have that word. I'm just looking to see if others have. They've got senile,
dictator.
criminal,
How about
dementia.
that? Is dictator on there?
No. Well, if it is, I'm scanning this because it's not in the list, man. It would be so much easier if
How
this
about
was
fascist hyphenated dictator? Fascist dictator.
There's meh. That one appears on a few of them. How about let's move? And I appreciate your word choice there. How about let's move on to the big fella, and that's Donald J. Trump. What word? One word.
I'm going to go with a hyphenated word.
No, you
Swamp
can't.
Drainer.
You can't.
Swamp
That
drainer.
one, I'll give you that one. That's okay. Swamp Drainer's okay. That is unique enough that it does not appear on here, but that is, I'll give you that. Swamp Drainer. What did he do in his term in office to lead you to believe he drained the swamp?
Well, I think that the reasons that he did not is one.
So he did
not come in.
So he did not drain the swamp.
I would say that he overall did not. However, he did get rid of one part of this, or several parts of the swamp. Let me go through the list. James Comey, he got rid of. He got rid of a number of humans that were part of the swamp. And
what about Christopher Wray?
Bureaucrats.
Was Christopher Wray part of the swamp?
Comey. What's that?
Was Christopher Wray part of the swamp?
I think he was, but I think that was part of the problem is that Donald Trump was also led by interior cabinet members that were also part of the swamp. And so they gave him names. And by the way, Chris Christie was the guy that really was in favor of Christopher Wray. I mean, he supported him all through his career. And there's a perfect example. Consider the sword.
Joe, my man, thank you for finishing off our segment on this, and have a great weekend. Listen, we're going to cut away for a break. We're going to come back. There's texts that are coming in here, but I think we're going to be joined by a special guest to round out this particular show this week, which is good for me, and I hope it's good for you as well. Listen, I got to tell you about Dan Kaplis. You've heard about this guy. He talks about taking righteous cases. I think that's true, but I think it's when he uses the term righteous, I think you need to know it is broad enough to cover any victim of someone else or some other entity. And that's what he means by righteous. I'd be interested to hear if Dan has a different definition. I'm just going off of my experience with him when I worked for him as an attorney back, 16, 17 years ago. And I know Bobber, his partner, and they go out there fighting on behalf of people who are hurt and just can't help themselves. And that's the problem with this civil justice system that we have. It can get you something. It can't get you everything, but it's tough, man, with the rules and the evidence and how do you get the information? How do you make somebody provide you the evidence that you need to prove that they did something wrong, like they were negligent or reckless? Dan and Bobber know how to do that. Dan's been doing it for decades. So don't navigate that by yourself. Don't act out of fear. Don't rush to settle just because you need $1 or $2. Dan can help you navigate all this stuff and get you in the best place you can be under our system. All you got to do is call him at 303-770-5551. 303-770-5551, or check him out at dancaplislaw.com. That's Caplis, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. It's George Brauchler on the George Show, 710 KNUS. George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. In the minutes that we have left, I'd like to call back on our on-the-ground reporter from abroad. I don't know if the typhoon hit or not, but for the last time from far away, my son, Super Scout, his name is Jeff. Jeff, thanks for joining us.
It's good to be here.
Now, listen, when you say here, tell us where you're at.
I'm in a hostel in Seoul.
And why are you there instead of the gymnasium at that middle school at Camp Humphreys?
Because, I don't know, they planned it originally where we would stay here and then go to the airport.
When do you go to the airport?
I don't know. I haven't found out from my scoutmaster yet.
And do you guys find, listen, I've done the math. It is, according to Alexa, 15 hours ahead. That means it's after midnight out there, man. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you need to get some sleep? What are the rest of the scouts doing?
Chilling.
Is anybody asleep? Or are they all just kind of anxious to get home, that kind of thing?
We all have to find out our bus assignments and like our times that we're going to be leaving. So we all have to stay up for that.
When does your flight leave for America?
7 p.m.
Good Lord, 7 p.m., but that's tomorrow, which is more like 4 a.m. our time tomorrow. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Do you have any other events planned for this awesome and hugely expensive World Scout Jamboree other than just the logistics of getting from a youth hostel in Seoul to the airport in Incheon?
Nope.
That's fantastic. Tell us about yesterday, or this, I guess it's tell us about tonight or your last night where you guys went to the closing ceremony. Where'd you do it?
Mm-hmm. We did it at the World Cup Stadium, like the Seoul World Cup Stadium.
How does it compare to American stadiums?
Well, it's like a soccer stadium, so there aren't like as many tiers and stuff, like of seating.
Oh, I thought you meant like crying. Not as many tiers. How many people you think fit in that thing? Did you fit every single scout from across the planet that came to the World Scout Jamboree? Did they all show up to this thing?
Yeah.
Wow. 50,000? And what was the event? Was it pretty cool? Did you like it?
Yeah. So the closing ceremony we actually missed out on because like our bus was a bit late.
So you missed the closing ceremony?
Like the main one. It was only 30 minutes, but then there was like a 2-hour K-pop like concert.
Okay. How was the K-pop?
It was really cool.
Listen, I find it hard to believe you guys were late because you guys leave 8 hours early for everything. Who was the K-pop artist that you guys listened to? What was the name? Billy wants to know.
There were a ton of them, like not just one person.
Do you remember any names of them?
No, not really.
Are you going to post pictures or videos of the event because you haven't in the last couple of days?
I probably will. I took a lot.
I don't like it when you leave open the door for not happening, like probably. Just say, yes, Dad, I'm going to do it.
Okay, I will.
All right, there you go. You're committed to it. Now, takeaways here in the final time that we have. What was the best thing about World Scout Jamboree as you look back on it?
Kind of just meeting people from like all the different countries. That was super fun.
What's the worst thing?
Like all the cancellations and the weird things that happened.
Weird.
And only spending basically a weekend at the Jamboree itself.
Do you feel like you got a decent experience out of it, or does Dad need to go customer service, Dad, and look for a refund?
I think I did.
Okay, good. And by the way, we can't wait to have you back, son. I think TT and I are still planning on coming and grabbing you in the early morning hours of Sunday night when you finally touch down. What's that place you land in first before you come to Denver?
Minneapolis.
You fly from Incheon to Minneapolis to Denver?
Mm-hmm.
You guys must be going up over the top or something like that, because that is inexplicable. That is not anywhere near us. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Meanwhile, your Uncle Eric, who's in town as of last night, flew in from Minnesota. He's here too, so you'll have that in common. Jeff, final words, son. I love you very much. I cannot wait to see you again. I'm guessing you're taller than I am by now.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I love you, buddy. Travel safe. Stay in touch with us, okay?
Okay.
Proud of you.
Bye.
Son. Good night. Hey, that was Jeff B. He's a super scout, going to be a star scout there, wrapping up the World Scout Jamboree. Historic, if only because it was the second one since 1971, impacted negatively by a typhoon. I can't wait to see that little fella. Hey, my thanks to all of you for the whole week, but especially the feedback today on that. What's that one word? What's that one word? We'll keep that thing going when we come back. Enjoy the rest of the day's offerings and a great week. And it's George Brauchler, 710 KNUS.